When he opened his eyes again, Lin Che found himself standing on an endless highway that stretched out as far as the eye could see. A cold mechanical voice echoed inside his head, laying out everything clearly. Welcome to the trial of the Forsaken Highway. Memorize the trial rules. They will only be recited once, so pay close attention. Lines of golden text then materialized before Lin Che's eyes, spelling out the rules one by one. Every player spawns with an initial vehicle at the start. Vehicles cannot be looted unless you kill another player. Vehicles gain experience and level up over time and through combat. Vehicles consume energy resources, fuel oil, battery cells. Energy supplies can be obtained by any means, yes. Stealing them is the cheapest way. Each player starts with 3 days' worth of survival rations. Supplies can be purchased from service station shops or retrieved from supply crates. And yes, you can also steal them. You will pass through strange territories along your survival journey. Write your will in advance. We'll send it back to the real world for you. Just kidding, we won't. Reach a service station within the designated time limit, or you'll receive an unexpected surprise. 6. There is no new player protection in this game. Death could find you at any moment. 7. Death within the game means permanent, real death. Lin Che was utterly stunned, yet he quickly pieced together the truth. First off, he'd transmigrated. He'd landed in this hellish world known as the Forsaken Highway. Every selected participant received a starting vehicle and a survival system. To stay alive, he had to keep driving forward non-stop, hitting each service station before the clock ran out. And that so-called surprise was almost certainly death. No time to stand around dumbfounded. Lin Che immediately checked what his newbie ride would be. One glance, and he wanted to hurl himself off the road. Vehicle, scavenger's wreck, a beat-up motorbike only 20 intact. Tags, wasteland-born forged in desert wastelands. Rust-caked, this isn't cosmetic paint, it's genuine corrosion. Stat panel, max range, 200 kilometers. Top speed, 40 kilometers per hour. Armor, none. Mounted weapons, none. Special abilities, none. This is a total ripoff. Lin Che roared, spinning to stare at the rusted heap of metal behind him. He swung a leg over the bike and glanced at the countdown timer and mini-map in the upper right of his vision. Countdown to service station arrival, 71 hours, 21 minutes, and 1 second. Distance to service station 74, 800 kilometers. Reaching the station 800 kilometers away in 3 days wouldn't be impossible, even on this broken bike. The real problem was fuel. He barely had any. The bike's maximum range was only 200 kilometers, and its tank sat at half capacity right now. He scanned the endless desert stretching in every direction. Where on earth was he supposed to find gasoline out here? He'd probably have an easier time stumbling across an atomic bomb instruction manual than a can of petrol. But fuel shortages were the least of his worries at that moment. Hey cutie, don't run away. Let me have a little fun with you, just once. I'll give you anything you want afterward, promise. The voice belonged to a woman with a sultry, mature tone. Lin Che peeked into his rearview mirror. A woman with fiery red wavy hair rode a scarlet motorcycle, her strappy tank top barely containing her exaggerated curves. Giant gold hoop earrings glinted in the sunlight. Normally, Lin Che wouldn't mind being chased by a beautiful woman. But this was no ordinary beauty. 30 minutes prior, Lin Che had run into this woman by the roadside. He'd originally planned to team up and travel together. Then, while they'd stopped to rest, the woman had relieved herself right there in front of him. It was no pleasant sight, though. This woman had peed standing up. It turned out this pursuer was a trans woman who'd undergone gender reassignment surgery abroad. Worse still, the moment she finished, she'd lunged straight for Lin Che. And the equipment she'd pulled out was bigger than his own. The balance of power was painfully obvious. Lin Che had never encountered something this bizarre in his life. He'd grabbed his motorbike and bolted on the spot. But his bike's top speed capped out at 40 kilometers per hour. There was no way he could outrun her. Boom. Fortune favored him at last. A tiny pickup truck burst out from the roadside bushes, slamming straight into the red-haired pursuer and sending her flying. A steel pipe poked out the truck's window, and a burly bald man shoved the door open and climbed down. He twirled the metal pipe between his fingers, a vicious, triumphant grin spreading across his brutish face. He glanced at the red-haired figure crumpled on the ground, then turned to Lin Che, frozen atop his beat-up motorbike. Hey kid, that your girlfriend? The bald man jabbed the pipe toward the red-haired person, his voice as rough and croaky as an old duck's quack. She's real easy on the eyes. I'm in a good mood today. I'll have my fun with her right in front of you, then let you both go. Sound good? Lin Che froze for a split second before instantly adopting a timid, cowardly demeanor. Sure, go right ahead. Whatever makes you happy, I don't mind at all. Just spare me half a bucket of gasoline afterward. That's all I ask. The bald man blinked, then burst into loud laughter. Smart boy. I love folks who know their place. Siphon fuel from my tank yourself. Just don't interrupt my good time. Will do, boss. Enjoy yourself. Lin Che scurried aside. The bald man let out a scoff and strode over to the red-haired figure. He planted a boot firmly on her shoulder and roughly hooked the frayed strap of her tank top with his steel pipe, yanking it open. The red-haired pursuer hadn't fully regained consciousness yet. Pale skin spilled out beneath the torn fabric of her top. The bald man's blood ran hot with lust, and he moved to rip her clothes clean off, until his eyes dropped to the unmissable abnormality below. The flush of excitement drained from his face in an instant, leaving him deathly pale. What the hell is this freak? Before the bald man could process what he'd seen, the red-haired figure's eyes flew wide open. In a lightning-fast motion, she snatched the steel pipe straight out of his grasp and swung it hard, cracking him square over the bald crown of his head. Crash! The pipe connected dead center with his skull. The bald man screamed and stumbled backward, fresh blood streaming down his cheeks. Damn you! You trans freak! You dare ambush me! The red-haired figure flipped upright in a single fluid motion, yanking her clothes closed and snarling furiously at the bald man. You ugly brute! You thought you could take advantage of me? You're asking to die. A chaotic flurry of clanging and crashing erupted between them. Crunch! The red-haired figure's head burst open like a watermelon, splattering red blood and gray brain matter all over the sand. The bald man stood gasping for breath, shaking the blood-soaked pipe in his hand. He twisted toward Lin Che, a menacing grin stretching across his face. You little punk, you set me up? I'm gonna kill you. Get on your knees right now, and I might spare your worthless life. Lin Che flipped him off, swinging a leg over his motorbike. Go to hell, you pervert who chases trans women. The bald man's grin froze solid, his eyes darkening with even more murderous rage. You refuse a kind offer and choose punishment instead? You little brat, you think I can't crush you? With that, he leaped back into his pickup truck. The engine roared as he slammed the gas pedal to the floor, steering straight for Lin Che, fully intent on running him down. Die! The truck's engine howled, and it lurched forward at full speed. But the second its tires began to spin, deafening explosion. A thunderous blast ripped through the air. The truck's front end instantly erupted into a fireball. The massive force of the detonation flipped the entire vehicle end over end twice before it crashed heavily onto the sand, thick black smoke billowing skyward. The bald man only managed half a scream before he was trapped beneath the overturned chassis. Half his body was wedged between the truck frame and the ground, blood pouring from his mouth, his hair matted with dust and motor oil. Shit, why the hell was there a bomb in this truck? There'd been no bomb. Only a small trick Lin Che had pulled moments earlier. He'd only been trapped in this hellish wasteland for a few hours, yet he'd already witnessed sexual assault and cold-blooded murder play out right before his eyes. He had no intention of waiting around to become the next victim. Anyone who posed a threat to him needed to be neutralized first. The dying bald man watched Lin Che stride toward him, silhouetted against the blazing sun. All his prior cruelty and arrogance melted away instantly. Brother, please, save me. Lin Che's gaze turned ice cold. Save him? Not a chance. If he pulled him free, the man would only turn on him again. Lin Che raised his foot to deliver the final blow, when another voice suddenly reverberated inside his head. Predator's system awakened. Detectable wreckage of another player's vehicle located. Initiate devour? A system had finally unlocked for him. Lin Che's heart surged with wild joy. Hope wasn't lost after all. Streams of system notifications flooded his mind seconds later. Mechanical predator system activated. Sole host, Lin Che. Current vehicle, Scavenger's Wreck. Core Rule 1, Absolute Predation. The host cannot earn vehicle experience through conventional methods, monster kills, quest completions, etc. All standard experience is converted directly to coins. Looted supplies remain unaffected. Core Rule 2, Devour Evolution. Your vehicle gains predation energy by devouring vehicles belonging to players you defeat or kill. Once energy hits 100, your vehicle can evolve. Core Rule 3, Module Theft. Every successful devour grants a random stolen module from the consumed vehicle blueprints, raw materials, or pre-assembled parts. The Predator system? No, this was a vehicle devour system. But that meant he could never level up by hunting monsters. His only path to survival was hunting other players. It wasn't a useless ability by any stretch. If anything, it was insanely overpowered. But there was one massive problem. To devour other players' vehicles, he needed a ride powerful enough to take them down first. How was a beat-up tiny motorbike supposed to defeat anyone else? This system made it clear he had to become a hunter, preying on every other player he crossed paths with. He'd already grasped the brutal truth of the Forsaken Highway. This world ran entirely by the law of the jungle. Yet Lin Che had always been an exemplary student back in his old life. He'd never hurt another person, not even racked up many kills in MOBA games like Summoner's Rift. Ding. Detectable wreckage of another player's vehicle located. Initiate Devour? The system's prompt pulled Lin Che back to the present moment. Initiate Devour? He glanced at the wrecked pickup truck beside him. His perfect meal was sitting right there. Confirm Devour. Lin Che spoke without the slightest hesitation. He knew devouring the bald man's truck would leave the man stranded in the middle of the empty desert, essentially sentencing him to death. But Lin Che felt zero guilt over it. The bald man stared in shock as he heard Lin Che's command. Devour? Devour what exactly? Had this kid turned out to be some kind of man-eating monster? Before he could make sense of it, streaks of dark red data streams poured out of his wrecked pickup the second Lin Che confirmed the order, surging straight into Lin Che's rusted motorbike. The bald man's truck rapidly decomposed and dissolved, leaving nothing but a crumpled pile of scrap metal within seconds. Meanwhile, every trace of rust flaked off Lin Che's motorbike. It gleamed brand new, and its frame bulked up by a full size. Devour successful. Predation energy gained, 15 points. Current energy, 15/100. Congratulations, host. First Devour completed. 1 module theft chance awarded. Module theft lottery pool generated. Extracting random modules from target vehicle modified muscle truck inventory. Lin Che held his breath in anticipation. A pleasant surprise awaited him. This was his shot. Whether he escaped his current fuel crisis, or even survived this highway of despair entirely, rested on this single draw. His eyes locked onto the glowing virtual theft button floating in his vision. Lin Che didn't hesitate for a heartbeat. Theft. A loud hum echoed in his ears. A virtual roulette wheel spun rapidly across his field of vision, split into more than a dozen segments, each marked with tiny icons representing different vehicle modules. Most icons glowed plain white, signifying common-grade parts, while several were dull gray, broken, worthless scrap, busted welding ram white, worn racing seat white, leaky auxiliary fuel tank gray, low-quality loudspeaker white, all garbage broken spare parts stripped from the bald man's modified truck. Drawing any of them would be completely useless. Lin Che's heart hammered against his ribs. Then, amid all the dull white and gray icons, a faint, striking flash of icy blue stood out vividly. The roulette's pointer whirled faster and faster, slowing gradually as it swept past one white and gray segment after another. Skip that one, skip. Lin Che chanted silently in his head. He watched the pointer glide just past the blue segment, and his heart sank into his stomach. But right as it was about to settle on a segment marked refurbished tires white, an invisible force nudged the pointer gently. It dragged to an almost complete stop, trembling, before landing dead center on the blue tile. Ding. Theft successful. Congratulations, host. Rare module acquired. Mini storage space blue tier. Module, mini storage space. Tier, blue rare. Effect. Grants your vehicle a standalone 1 cubic meter storage compartment, controlled via mental thought. Fully insulated to separate internal and external environments. Note. All items held within the original stolen storage will transfer automatically upon installation. A sharp spark of excitement lit up Lin Che's eyes. This was a treasure. His motorbike had zero cargo capacity before. This solved all his transport problems. Install module. Lin Che issued the command without pause. A beam of cool blue light shot from his palm, merging into the bike's dashboard and etching a glowing blue cube symbol onto its surface. At the same time, Lin Che felt a strange mental link form between himself and the new storage compartment. He focused his mind, and every item inside the storage space instantly unfolded before his mental sight. 3 10-liter jerrycans of gasoline, 3 cases of bottled mineral water, over 20 vacuum-sealed packs of compressed biscuits, multiple bladed knives, a crossbow, even a flare gun, and several signal flares. The most ridiculous find of all, stacks of magazines with scantily clad women plastered across their covers. Lin Che could even flip through the magazines mentally if he wanted. Not bad taste for a brutal bald outlaw. The bald man stared on in utter horror. What kind of black magic was this kid wielding? How had he turned his whole truck into scrap metal in an instant? His storage compartment had been his most prized possession. If everything else was lost, even if his vehicle was totaled, as long as he held on to his supplies, he could scrape together enough materials to craft a new vehicle once he reached a service station. But without food or water, He'd never make it out of this endless desert. The nearest service station sat at least 500 kilometers away. No human, no matter how tough, could walk that far. Hope rekindled inside Lin Che's chest. He took a deep breath to calm his racing excitement. He quickly pulled one jerrycan free, twisted off the cap, and refilled his motorbike's empty fuel tank to the brim. Glug, glug, glug. As gasoline flooded the tank, the bike's fuel indicator light shifted from a harsh, screaming red back to a calm, healthy green. Scavenger's wreck fuel level, 100. Lin Che unscrewed a bottle of water next and chugged half of it in one go. The icy liquid slid down his throat, washing away the scorching, parching thirst clogging his throat. The trapped bald man watched every second, grinding his teeth in bitter rage. All those supplies had belonged to him. Lin Che wasn't entirely cruel, though. He took the remaining half bottle of water and dumped it straight over the bald man's head. Open your mouth. Savor the last bottle of water you'll ever taste. The bald man spluttered, shaking his head back and forth, consumed by terror and hatred as he begged desperately. Brother, no, boss. Spare me. I know I messed up. Take me with you. I'll die out here alone otherwise. Die or me die. Save you? Where was that remorse when you tried to kill me? Brought out here, you bastard. Lin Che turned away, swung onto his motorbike, and twisted the throttle. The engine let loose a deep, powerful growl. Panic overwhelmed the bald man. He practically screamed through tears. Boss. Dad. Grandpa. I beg you, save me please, Dad. Get lost. I'd never claim a worthless wretch like you as kin. Lin Che gunned the engine, and the bike kicked up a cloud of sand that choked the bald man's nose and mouth. He stared after the departing bike with eyes full of hopeless despair as Lin Che sped off into the distance. Lin Che's gaze burned sharp and determined as he rode across the endless sandy highway. He'd survived. Not only had he escaped death, he now held ample supplies and a powerful hidden trump card. Next stop, full speed ahead. Lin Che's goals were crystal clear. Reach the first service station within 70 hours, learn all the hidden rules of this twisted world, and find a way to evolve his vehicle as quickly as possible. Even if his motorbike couldn't truly be called a combat vehicle just yet. Vroom. Roughly 2 hours later, Lin Che's brows suddenly knitted tight. An unnatural column of thick black smoke billowed straight into the sky on the distant horizon. It wasn't the smoke of an exploding vehicle. It looked far more like cooking chimney smoke. He eased off the throttle, approaching cautiously. While his supplies were now abundant, his combat power remained pitifully weak. One wrong move, and he'd end up as someone else's emergency rations. Soon enough, a bizarre custom vehicle drifted into his line of sight. Lin Che raised a pair of binoculars to examine it, a tiny stretched low-speed electric quadricycle, colloquially known as an old man's joy. A small trailer hitched behind it, its body spray painted with a silly cartoon chef's hat logo. A metal chimney jutted from the roof, belching plumes of thick smoke nonstop. It looked exactly like a mobile food truck. Surrounding the truck, several sandworms the size of small dogs circled a young girl, who brandished a frying pan, fighting for her life. Help! Somebody help me. A young female chef with a chopped chili fish head food cart. They oddly suited one another. Yet the whole scene clashed horribly with this wasteland world blanketed in endless yellow sand. On this survival highway where danger lurked around every corner, every player desperately welded armor and ramming spikes onto their vehicles to stay alive. Driving a flashy mobile food cart around was practically equivalent to carving the words, "Come eat me," across your forehead. The girl in a white shirt, pink apron, and high ponytail looked utterly incapable of fighting back. Only 5 or 6 mutant sandworms, each no bigger than a puppy, surrounded her. These monsters resembled maggots blown up to monstrous sizes, constantly spewing revolting white slime. They didn't hit hard, but they were absolutely disgusting. Minding other people's business gets you killed fast. Lin Che had originally planned to twist the throttle and ride straight past this area. He had zero desire to play hero, but his gaze lingered on the strange low-speed electric food cart for 2 more seconds. Supplies, food. Helping others doesn't sound all that bad, I guess. Lin Che glanced at the sandworms, nothing more than low-tier monsters. Roar! A deep, ferocious engine howl instantly shattered the desert's silence. His motorbike shot forward like an arrow, kicking up a storm of sand as it hurtled toward the besieged girl. The girl was already on the verge of breaking down. She'd only stopped to cook a meal, never expecting these repulsive creatures to burrow out of the barren sand. The frying pan in her grip was dented all over. Every blow against the worm's carapaces produced dull thuds, failing to land a fatal wound. Girls were naturally afraid of bugs. Terrified out of her wits, it never crossed her mind to grab 2 kitchen cleavers from her cart, weapons that could easily dispose of the swarm. Where a blurry black figure swooped down out of nowhere. Lin Che steered his motorbike into a sharp leap, the front wheel slamming dead center onto the back of a sandworm that had jumped into the air. Squelch! The sound of splitting carapace echoed as the puppy-sized worm burst open. Lin Che planted one foot on the sand for balance, and with a thought, drew a long blade from the mini storage space he'd looted earlier. The remaining 5 sandworms flew into a rage from the sudden attack. Abandoning Fong Jing, they wriggled their plump bodies and lunged straight for Lin Che. Suicide. Lin Che let out a cold huff and charged forward instead of retreating. All the strength in his body erupted in an instant, the long blade blurring into a frigid streak of silver light. Swish, swish, swish. The sharp sound of metal slicing through flesh rang out nonstop. The carapaces of these low-level monsters might as well have been paper against his heavy cleaver. He cut them down as easily as chopping vegetables. In less than 10 seconds, all 5 worms lay decapitated, green bodily fluid and white slime splattered everywhere across the sand. Lin Che shook the worm gunk off his blade and turned around. He spotted the girl huddled beside her food cart's tires, eyes squeezed shut and trembling violently. She looked a total mess. Her white apron was coated in sand, and globs of the worm's disgusting white slime splattered her shoulders and collarbones, sliding slowly down her fair skin. Lin Che stepped forward, tapped the crumpled frying pan with the toe of his boot, then patted her shoulder. It's over. Stop screaming, they're all dead. At his cool, detached voice, the girl cautiously cracked one eye open. The ground was littered with gruesome worm corpses. Standing amid the carnage was a tall, handsome young man with messy short hair. The afternoon sunlight gilded his side profile. He looked impossibly cool. Her fear vanished in an instant, replaced by wild, overwhelming relief after narrowly escaping death. She tossed the dented frying pan aside, jumped to her feet, and stared at Lin Che with sparkling eyes. Wow, thank you so much for saving me. You were amazing back there. My name's Fong Jing. It's such a pleasure to meet you. Lin Che's mouth twitched as he stared at the naive girl whose mood flipped faster than turning a page. Was she really this airhead? His gaze stayed icy cold. You're celebrating too soon. Fong Jing's heart dropped. Her bright smile froze on her face, draining of color in a split second. She knew exactly how brutal the rules of this highway were. Though scatterbrained, she wasn't stupid. Murder for supplies was commonplace here. Lin Che hadn't hesitated to slaughter the worms. Could it be he'd saved her just to rob her? Trembling like a leaf, she hugged her arms tight over her chest and stumbled backward, tears welling up in her eyes. Please don't hurt me, brother. I'll hand over all my supplies. Just spare me a little food and water. I beg you. Watching her utterly terrified state, Lin Che rolled his eyes. What a coward. I think you're celebrating too soon. There's a tiny baby sandworm crawling up your leg. Fong Jing froze, following his line of sight to stare down at her calf. A palm-sized juvenile sandworm had somehow crept onto her skin without her noticing. Though small, its rows of wriggling mouthparts were already burrowing toward the inside of her pant leg. Aya! A shrill scream split the air. All rational thought fled Fong Jing's mind. She launched herself forward as if coiled on a spring, clinging to Lin Che's body like a koala bear. Lin Che was completely unprepared. A sweet floral scent washed over him, and the soft, bouncy curves of her chest slammed straight into his face. He could barely breathe. MMPH, let go. Lin Che's face turned bright red, flailing his hands as he nearly suffocated against her. He reached down, pinched the baby worm, and ripped it off her leg. He spun around and slammed the worm hard against the ground, stomping down with all his strength. Squelch! The tiny worm turned into a puddle of mush. All right, it's just a bug. No need to act like you're dying over it. Lin Che struggled with all his might to peel the octopus-like girl off his face, holding her upright in his arms. Fong Jing's cheeks burned bright red. She stared at the squashed worm mush on the sand, exhaling a long, shaky breath and patting her full chest to calm her racing heart. That scared me half to death. It's totally normal for girls to hate bugs, you know? She lifted her head, her big watery eyes fixed on Lin Che as he held her, 2 faint pink blushes blooming across her cheeks. Thank you. I knew someone as handsome as you had to be a good person. A good person? Lin Che let out a bitter laugh and loosened his grip. Thud. Ow. Fong Jing rubbed her sore rear end and scrambled back up off the sand. Instead of cowering in fear, she bounded over with a grin. Come on. You saved my life, and I've got nothing to repay you with, but I'm an amazing cook. Let me treat you to a feast. Don't grab at me. I don't eat food from strangers. 5 minutes later. Ugh, burp. Lin Che let out a satisfied belch. Tomato fried rice, deep-fried meatballs, braised pork ribs. He never imagined this girl's tiny cart could whip up such delicious dishes. A full stainless steel kitchen setup sat inside. Stove, cutting board, range hood, everything. Even a small single-door mini fridge hummed away in the corner, powered by electricity. What stunned him most, the second he swallowed the first bite of food, a warm surge spread from his stomach to every inch of his body. All the exhaustion from hours of riding and fighting melted away instantly. Not only that, his muscles flooded with fresh strength. A crisp system chime echoed inside Lin Che's head. Ding! Special buff food consumed. Stamina restoring rapidly. Stamina fully recovered. Temporary buff acquired. Strength increased by 10. Duration, 1 hour. What the hell? This food restores stamina and grants stat boosts. Fong Jing waved her spatula proudly, explaining. Hee, but you didn't see that coming. It's my starting innate talent, miraculous cooking. Any ingredients I prepare have a chance to turn into food that gives special buffs. I ate a bowl of noodles once, and I ran faster than a rabbit. Lin Che gasped in shock. A support talent capable of granting stat boosts to other players. On this deadly highway, where everyone fought tooth and nail with vehicles and melee weapons, a mobile healer who could dish out powerful permanent buffs was priceless. If large convoys or brutal raiders found out about Fong Jing's ability, they'd kidnap her and force her to cook for them for the rest of her life. No wonder this airhead girl had survived this long in her beat-up, low-speed cart. Luck played a part, but this broken talent was utterly overpowered. Lin Che took a deep breath, reining in his shock. He walked to the cart's corner and yanked open the humming mini fridge. The next second, Lin Che froze completely. The fridge was stuffed full of fresh fruits and vegetables. The bottom shelf held neatly cut slabs of fresh pork and steak, frozen solid. Every player only received 3 days of basic survival supplies at spawn, just a few bottles of water and compressed biscuits. Even after robbing the bald man, that was all Lin Che had gotten. Yet this helpless young girl somehow had fresh meat and vegetables in abundance. Lin Che turned to face her, his gaze sharp and intense. Tell me the truth, you can't even beat sandworms. How did you get all this fresh produce? This was my starting supply. I had all of this the second I spawned here. Didn't you guys get the same? Fong Jing gestured casually at the fridge, then pointed up at her cart's roof. My cart, the Fongyuan, runs on solar power. As long as the sun's out, it moves, no gasoline needed. Though, the power's really weak. If it rains or clouds roll in, I might only move a few kilometers in half a day. Lin Che stared at the fridge overflowing with food, then at her fully equipped food cart. He thought back to his rusted motorbike, its fenders nearly falling off entirely. They were both players, yet the gap between their starting gear was absurd. Why her? Just because she had an impressive figure? Lin Che groaned inwardly in helpless envy. But he quickly calmed down. So every player spawned with different gear. Some got beat-up bikes like his, others solar-powered food carts, maybe even armored trucks or tanks for the lucky ones. His tiny motorbike put him at a massive disadvantage. He needed to evolve it as soon as possible. Brother. Fong Jing straightened up, her big eyes blinking up at Lin Che. You fought those monsters so well earlier. I never caught your name. Lin Che. Brother Lin Che. Fong Jing latched onto the affectionate title instantly, twisting the hem of her apron nervously. I'm just a cook with zero combat ability on this highway. If you hadn't shown up, those worms would have eaten me alive. My starting supplies are plenty, but they'll run out eventually. My cart's slow, and it has almost no defense. Cut to the point. Lin Che grew impatient, and Fong Jing blurted out her request immediately. Brother Lin Che, can I team up with you? I'll be super obedient. I'll cook all your meals. Fong Jing wasn't foolish. Without a strong protector on this highway, monsters were the least of her worries. Roving bandits with ill intentions would subject her to a fate far worse than death. Lin Che, though cold and quiet, had moved with clean, decisive strikes when saving her, and his eyes held no malice. Plus, he was incredibly handsome. He was definitely a trustworthy teammate to stick with. Lin Che sank into brief thought. Bringing dead weight along in this survival game was suicide. But Fong Jing was no ordinary burden. She was a mobile healing fountain, a chef capable of crafting top-tier stat buffs. In this world starved for fuel and food, a steady source of logistics support multiplied one's survival chances tenfold. On top of that, her talent to craft buff dishes made her an irreplaceable powerhouse asset. We can team up, but I have 3 rules. Lin Che lifted his head, his gaze sharp as a blade. Fong Jing's eyes lit up, nodding rapidly like a little chick pecking at rice. Say whatever they are. I'll agree to 100 rules. First, you follow every single one of my orders without question. Fight when I tell you to fight. Retreat when I signal retreat. No arguments. Second, all loot and supplies will be divided by me. I'll guarantee you enough rations to survive, but any excess resources are mine to handle as I see fit. Third, I have full command over your vehicle. If I order you to abandon it, you will comply without hesitation. Do you understand? Fang Jing didn't hesitate for a second, even playfully saluting him. Yes, sir, Captain. As long as you take me along for the ride, I'll obey every single word you say. A faint smile tugged at Lin Che's lips. The girl was cute, pretty, and had an incredible figure. He shook the stray thought away, refocusing. Pack your belongings. We leave now. The two set off as a team. On paper, their combined strength was still pitifully weak, just one beat-up motorbike and a tiny solar food cart. Lin Che pulled up his system panel. Countdown to service station 74. 46 hours, 30 minutes, and 12 seconds. Remaining distance, 450 kilometers. They still had plenty of time, and that was exactly what worried Lin Che. Service stations were official supply hubs, guaranteed to draw swarms of players. They were havens of hope, but also brutal slaughter fields. With his shabby current gear, charging in blindly would leave him robbed of everything by veteran players with fully upgraded vehicles. I need to hunt down more vehicles to evolve my ride before we reach the station, Lin Che muttered quietly, twisting his throttle. Vroom. Half a day slipped by in the blink of an eye. The setting sun dyed the desert a bleak, blood-red hue. Wrecked abandoned buildings dotted the sides of the highway, rusted utility poles tilting crookedly like silent tombstones. Brother Lin Che, look over there. Fang Jing's excited voice crackled over the walkie-talkie. Team voice chat had unlocked automatically once they formed a party. Lin Che slowed his bike, glancing toward where Fang Jing pointed. Beneath a distant hillside sat a run-down wooden cabin, isolated from everything else. Its windows were shattered, the front door hanging crookedly off its hinges, and strange gray moss crawled across every wall. Solitary structures like this along the highway usually marked supply caches or hidden treasure chests. Stay in the cart and don't move. Lin Che hopped off his bike, gripping his long blade tightly as he approached cautiously. The second he stepped within 10 meters of the cabin, harsh scraping metal sounds drifted out from inside. Creak, scratch, grind. It sounded like rusted gears forcing themselves to turn. Moments later, a tattered figure stepped slowly out of the shadows. A wooden humanoid construct standing nearly 2 meters tall, patched all over with scrap iron sheets. Tangled copper springs jutted from its joints, its eyes a pair of dim red glowing light bulbs behind a pair of wire-rimmed reading glasses. It clutched a heavy rusted iron sword in one hand. Target, damaged clockwork soldier LV.3. Description, ancient ruined guardian. Its core mechanism is worn down, yet it still boasts formidable strength and defense. Another monster? Lin Che frowned. This metal golem looked far tougher than the sandworms they'd fought earlier. He stepped back quickly, drawing the crossbow from his storage space and firing a bolt straight at its glowing red eyes. Clang. The bolt struck true, but only sent a shower of sparks flying off its yellowed lenses before clattering uselessly to the sand. Enraged, the clockwork soldier's torso rumbled like a bellows. It stomped forward with stiff, heavy steps, swinging its iron sword down hard at Lin Che. Clang. Lin Che blocked the blow with his cleaver, a sharp jolt of numbness shooting up his wrist. The golem possessed shocking brute strength. Its entire body was a mix of wood and iron plating. Regular slashes couldn't land a fatal blow. Dodge, brother Lin Che. He heard a shout from behind and spun around to see Fang Jing charging straight at the golem in her chopped chili fish head food cart, barreling forward like an enraged heifer. Crash. The cart's front bumper slammed hard into the clockwork soldier's back. Though the low-speed cart lacked power, its weight created massive inertia, sending the iron construct flying straight into the cabin and smashing the whole wooden structure to splinters. Nice work. A glint of admiration flashed across Lin Che's eyes. While the soldier struggled to clamber out from the pile of broken timber, Lin Che sprinted back to his motorbike and grabbed a half-full jerrycan of gasoline from his storage compartment. Let's add some fire to the mix. Whoosh. The gasoline barrel ablaze traced an arc and slammed dead center into the clockwork soldier's cracked wooden torso. Crash. Flames erupted instantly. Creak, grind, sizzle, boom. Shrill metallic tearing echoed out. The clockwork soldier convulsed violently amid the fire. Its glowing red bulb eyes flickered frantically before dimming completely, collapsing into a heap of scrap metal. LV.3 clockwork soldier eliminated. Loot acquired. Low-grade steel times 5, gears times 2. Gold coins gained, 100. Ding. Experience points earned, 400. Experience cap reached. Converting surplus XP to gold. Conversion complete. Plus 400 gold coins. Total gold, 500 includes base 100 kill reward. Fong Jing also received experience rewards from the kill. The full 400 points pushed her food cart straight up a level. Solar-powered food cart, E rank LV, 2, LV3. Battery endurance boosted by 10. Max range now 220 kilometers. Haha, brother Lin Che, my Fong Yuan just leveled up. Fong Jing chattered excitedly about how great the upgrade felt, unaware the man beside her had just hit the fast track to wealth. Before either could step forward to collect the spoils, the charred wooden cabin twisted unnaturally. As the flames died down, the whole cabin warped like a glitching hologram, disintegrating amid swirling, distorted data streams, then reconstructing itself. In under 3 seconds, a 2-meter-tall vending machine materialized in its place. Doomsday Survival Vending Machine. The machine's screen flickered, a robotic synthetic voice echoing across the barren wilderness. Welcome, lucky traveler. Care to pull a blind box draw? What the hell is this? What's that thing? Fong Jing poked her head out and asked. System notice. Defeating specific guardian monsters along the highway unlocks supply shops or random treasure chests. The vending machine's shop interface unfolded, and the two rushed to browse its stock. Beginner food bundle times 1. 100 gold, 3 purchase limit. Standard hemostatic spray times 1. 50 gold. Low-grade vehicle repair kit times 1. 200 gold. Glock 17 semi-automatic pistol. 500 gold, 1 purchase limit. Random E-rank vehicle refit blueprint. 800 gold. Staring at his newly earned 500 gold, Lin Che didn't hesitate a second and tapped the pistol icon. Cold weapons worked well in this world, but firearms were true peace of mind. Clunk. A black handgun dropped out of the retrieval slot. Lin Che retrieved it, smoothly checking the magazine and chambering around. The heavy solid weight of the metal settled his nerves completely. Fong Jing reluctantly spent her last 50 gold on a can of hemostatic spray. Brother Lin Che, take this. You're our main fighter. Keep it for emergencies. Lin Che didn't reach for it. His gaze locked onto a gash on her pale calf. When she rammed the cart into the clockwork soldier earlier, flying splinters had sliced an open wound several centimeters long. Blood trickled down her leg into her sock, stark against her fair skin. Sit down. Huh. Fong Jing blinked, then obediently perched on the cart's footboard. Lin Che knelt, picked up the spray, and misted it evenly over the cut. SSS. That hurts so bad. Fong Jing flinched, instinctively planting both hands on Lin Che's shoulders. Her body lurched forward from the sharp pain. A soft, sweet scent washed over Lin Che, and his line of sight inevitably fell down her neckline. Good lord, that's distracting. Fong Jing covered her chest the second she caught his gaze. Lin Che frowned, annoyed. What did she take him for? Don't squirm, or you'll scar. He suppressed the heat rising in his chest and finished dressing the wound quickly. Thank you, brother Lin Che. Fong Jing's cheeks burned, her voice barely audible as she tugged down her skirt nervously. It's getting dark. Traveling after nightfall is too dangerous. We'll camp here. Night fell, and temperatures plummeted along the highway. Stretching ahead lay a wind-carved canyon. Giant boulders moaned in the night wind like wailing ghosts. Lin Che scouted the area thoroughly. No tracks of large mutated beasts, no distant engine roars from other players. He decided to set up camp at the canyon's entrance. He pulled a lightweight tent from his mini storage space and pitched it. Fong Jing parked her Fong Yuan food cart beside it and set about cooking dinner. Dinner's ready. Fong Jing climbed out of the cart, carrying 2 steaming bowls. Chicken mushroom congee paired with golden crispy corn flatbreads. Lin Che took a spoonful. The thick porridge carried sweet chicken broth and rich mushroom aroma, layered with a faint, soothing herbal scent. Ding. Special meal consumed. Mushroom chicken congee. Buff gained. Deep recovery. All stats +8. Full fatigue cleared. Duration, 6 hours. Ding. Special meal bonus activated. Permanent stat gain. Strength +1. Agility +1. Lin Che's hand froze mid-spoon. Permanent stat points? He shot his head up, staring straight at Fong Jing as she sipped her porridge quietly. What's wrong? Doesn't it taste good? Fong Jing shifted uncomfortably under his intense stare, touching her cheek nervously. No, it's amazing. Did you run a restaurant before? Yeah. How'd you guess? Fong Jing ducked her head shyly. I grew up in a single-parent home. Dad passed young, and Mom sold street food to raise me. I got up at 3 a.m. every day to help out. I never even dated. All my time went to testing recipes. All right, I didn't ask about that. Do you know your cooking can grant permanent stat boosts? Wait, that's possible. It was clear Fong Jing had no clue about her own talent. Lin Che let out a long breath. He'd only seen her as a mobile healing fountain at first, but she was an overpowered support capable of permanent stat increases. Permanent stats. If he kept eating her cooking, his body alone could tank monsters without a vehicle. Though the odds seem pretty low. That's fine. I'll cook for you every day. We'll stack tons of permanent stats eventually. Her words sounded almost like a confession, and her face flushed bright red. Lin Che paid no mind, too busy reviewing his character sheet. Lin Che, human, strength, 7 constitution, 6 agility, 6 spirit, 7. These numbers match the average human baseline. Regular people topped out at 10 in any single stat. But Lin Che knew this wasn't humanity's true upper limit in this world. Others must have ways to earn permanent stat gains, possibly far more powerful ones. That made Fong Jing far more valuable than she seemed. 2 a.m. Sand and wind lashed against the tent canvas, beating a steady patter. Lin Che lay in his sleeping bag, Glock clutched in one hand, eyes half-lidded. Thanks to Fong Jing's meal buff, his fatigue was gone, and he maintained sharp vigilance, even resting. Zip! A faint creak sounded from the tent zipper. A figure slipped inside, cold night air trailing behind them. Who's there? Lin Che rolled over instantly, pressing the pistol's barrel straight to the intruder's forehead. Eep! It's just me. Dim moonlight fell over Fong Jing. Her long hair spilled loose, wrapped only in a thin blanket, face pale with a mix of fright and embarrassment. What are you doing? Lin Che lowered the gun with a frown, his heartbeat quickening unbidden. The wind's so loud outside. Fong Jing bit her lip, shuffling deeper into the tent looking miserable. And all the monster noises. I'm scared alone in the cart. Brother Lin Che, can I sleep in here with you? Lin Che froze, too stunned to reply before she'd already laid down beside him. The tent barely had any room. With Fong Jing curled up next to him, their bodies pressed flush together. Her soft figure was faintly visible beneath the thin blanket, warm breath fanning against Lin Che's neck. When Lin Che stayed silent, Fong Jing mumbled red-faced, "Don't try anything weird, okay? I'm not ready yet." Lin Che looked down at the soft girl pressed against him and didn't hold back, wrapping an arm gently around her slender waist and pulling her closer. "That's not a promise. You wandered in here on your own, after all. You're a bully." Fong Jing buried her burning face in his chest, yet made no move to push him away. Lin Che had no intention of crossing lines, though. This was only his first day trapped on this deadly survival highway, his mind swirling with countless threats and plans. Sleep. Oh, okay. Wake up, wake up. Dawn broke, and Fong Jing stirred first. Her heart had raced all night. She'd barely slept a wink. She wondered how Lin Che could rest soundly with a pretty girl curled up against him. Lin Che opened his eyes, his left shoulder throbbing numb. Fong Jing had tossed and turned wildly in her sleep, clinging to him like an octopus, her head heavy on his shoulder all night. Now she sat facing him, eyes shy and soft. "Lin Che, you really didn't try anything? I thought you'd take advantage of a defenseless girl like me." Lin Che rubbed his aching shoulder. "Disappointed? Want me to make up for it now?" "And no, that's all right. Up we go? Pack our things to leave. Next time pick the other shoulder as your pillow. I'm practically crippled over here." Fong Jing's heart fluttered wildly at the thought of sleeping tucked against him again. She stared at Lin Che's handsome sunlit face, then leaned forward quickly and pressed a light kiss to his cheek while he tidied his clothes. She darted out of the tent like a startled rabbit. "You passed the test. I'll go make breakfast." She vanished before he could react. Lin Che stood frozen, brushing the warm, lingering spot on his cheek, then muttered quietly to himself. Old folks were right. Guys really need to protect themselves when out alone. They ate a quick breakfast. No permanent stat boosts this time. Only a temporary buff sharpening eyesight and hearing by 30. The rocky canyon ahead would make perfect use of the bonus. Wow, it's breathtaking. Fong Jing gasped, staring up at the sheer knife-cut rock walls towering on both sides. Sunlight barely filtered through the cliffs. The road was carpeted with jagged broken stone, and tiny insect chirps rustled from the rubble lining the path. The road ahead grew darker. Fong Jing gripped her walkie-talkie tight in the rocking food cart, voice trembling. "Brother Lin Che, do we really have to go through here? This place feels eerie. It scares me. We don't have time to detour. Going around adds at least 200 kilometers. We can't waste fuel or hours we don't have. The alternate route might lead to even deadlier hazards, too. Stay close behind me." Lin Che twisted the throttle. His scavenger bike rumbled low and rolled slowly into the canyon. The wind died down inside the gorge, only the crunch of tires over broken stone echoing. Fong Jing huddled in her cart, white-knuckling a frying pan, eyes glued to the dark outside. Brother Lin Che, I've got a bad feeling. Something's moving out there. I hear it too. Keep quiet. Don't draw their attention. Lin Che lowered his voice. His boosted senses had already picked up dozens of seemingly ordinary rocks stirring all around them. Crunch. Just as he feared, the food cart rolled over one stone, which burst open, oozing red fluid. It hadn't been rock at all, but a beetle. That wasn't the worst of it. The noise jolted a millstone-sized boulder beside the road. A crack split its surface, revealing two massive, glowing red eyes. Ah, Lin Che, that rock has eyes. Fong Jing shouted without thinking. Lin Che cursed under his breath and barked. Shut up and floor it. It was already too late. They'd kicked a hornet's nest. Countless rocks lining the canyon split open, sprouting 6 thick, muscular limbs. Each monster snapped its jaws, scraping them together in shrill, grinding screeches. Target identified. Blaststone beetle, level, LV.4 description. Giant beetles encased in rock carapaces. Their bodily fluids are highly flammable. Hordes of stone beetles stirred from the cliffs and rubble, a gray tidal wave closing in to surround them. Lin Che accelerated sharply to dodge, his nimble bike weaving easily past lunging beetles. He drew his crossbow with his free hand and fired at the nearest monster. His pistol held too few rounds to turn the tide, and the crossbow barely fared better. Clang! The bolt hit the beetle's thick stone shell, leaving nothing but a faint white scratch. Damn, their defense is insane. He glanced back. Fong Jing was in far worse trouble. Her cart lacked power, struggling to climb the rubble-strewn slope. Several beetles clambered onto the roof, their sharp mandibles gnawing at the thin metal frame with loud scrapes. More massive beetles blocked the wheels, trapping her completely. We're done for. We're doomed. Fong Jing yelled, brandishing her frying pan in one hand and a kitchen knife in the other, hacking and smashing wildly at the charging beetles. Stupid bugs. Stop chewing my cart. Leave me alone. Her wild, uncoordinated swings crushed several smaller beetles flat. Lin Che stared in shock. Had she lost her mind? She'd screamed and panicked over tiny sandworms yesterday, yet fought fearlessly now. He didn't know she only feared slimy, mucus-dripping bugs. These stone-shelled beetles didn't disgust her half as much. There was no time to wonder over her change in demeanor. Lin Che pulled a cooked chicken leg from his storage and wolfed it down in 3 bites. He wasn't preparing to die here. This was Fong Jing's special meal, Rage Drumstick. Ding. Special meal consumed. Rage Drumstick. Temporary buff activated. Strength +3, Constitution +2. Duration, 15 minutes. Lin Che's blood roared through his veins, muscles coiling tight. Stacked with the agility boost from the mushroom soup earlier, his combat power spiked drastically. Get out of my way. Lin Che spun his bike around, swapping his crossbow for the machete. Steering one-handed, he swept the blade wide. A flash of cold steel sliced the heads clean off 2 lunging beetles in one swing. Strike after strike, he cut down the monsters left and right. But as he killed his 5th beetle, a sharp warning pricked the corner of his eye. The decapitated insect didn't collapse. Bright red light seeped through its cracked shell, a faint sizzle like a lit fuse hissing from within. Boom. A deafening blast sent rock fragments flying everywhere in a brutal shockwave. Lin Che's bike wobbled violently from the blast force, and he realized the horrific truth. These damn things self-destruct when they die. Fong Jing, stop fighting. Run. They blow up after death. Fong Jing was caught up in the adrenaline rush, clanging her pan against beetles nonstop. She didn't notice the glowing red shells of the insects behind her. The silly girl thought her makeshift weapons made her unstoppable. Look, Brother Lin Che, I smashed 3 of them. Idiot. Those glows mean they're about to detonate. Lin Che launched himself off the bike like an arrow, tackling Fong Jing hard to the ground. His broad frame shielded her entirely. He snatched her heavy steel frying pan in one quick motion and held it over both their heads as a makeshift blast shield. Boom, boom, boom. Chain explosions ripped through the canyon. Scorching fire washed over the surrounding meters. Beetle shrapnel pelted the pan and food cart like hailstones, ringing out nonstop. Clang, clang, clang. A heavy blast force slammed into Lin Che's back. He let out a muffled groan, metallic tang rising in his throat. After a long moment, the explosions died down. The surviving beetles fled, terrified by the devastating blasts. Huff, huff. Lin Che gasped for air, sweat dripping from his forehead onto Fong Jing's face beneath him. Fong Jing opened her eyes, staring up at Lin Che inches away, noticing his singed jacket sleeves from shielding her. Lin Che, are you hurt? Lin Che tossed aside the dented frying pan. Thankfully, diving flat had softened most of the explosion's impact. I'm fine. Just my rear end's a little toasty. Let me check. Oh, thank God, it didn't catch fire. Safe after narrowly escaping disaster, both of them let out a long breath. It was only then that Fong Jing noticed Lin Che's hand was still pressed firmly against her chest. The warmth seeping through his palm burned her cheeks crimson all the way to her earlobes. Brother Lin Che, could you wait till we're inside the tent tonight? It's broad daylight. This is so embarrassing. Lin Che glanced down at his hand, then at her flustered expression. He reluctantly pulled his hand away. Quit overthinking it. I just saved your neck. I'm an upright man. Would I take advantage of you? All right. Now that you've saved me, how did it feel? Fong Jing blinked her big round eyes, her tone laced with mischief. Lin Che's mouth twitched. This girl really had no filter. I was too focused on the danger to feel much of anything. Want to find out properly tonight then? Fong Jing kept teasing him. Lin Che flicked her lightly on the forehead. Cut the chatter and get up. They scrambled to their feet. Fong Jing smoothed down her skirt and shot him a playful eye roll. Go easy next time. You nearly squished me flat. My bad. I've never felt anything like this before. By the way, is this all natural or some synthetic tech modification? Boom. She slammed her fist straight into his stomach. The girl looked delicate, yet she packed quite a punch. Fong Jing narrowed her brows, hands planted firmly on her hips. Lin Che, you can flirt with me all you want, but don't you dare insult my figure. This is 100% natural, no alterations at all. Besides, if you're that curious, you can inspect it yourself inside the tent tonight to confirm. Lin Che clutched his sore stomach and flicked her forehead again. Stop being suggestive. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Have some decency. Come here, let's see what loot those beetles dropped. Obtained X10 stone beetle carapaces, extremely tough and wear-resistant. Usable to reinforce vehicle armor. Obtained X10 explosive beetle eggs, highly unstable, filled with potent biochemical energy. They may hatch at any moment or detonate from vibration. Low temperatures suppress both hatching and explosions. Explode. Lin Che's eyes lit up. If used right, these were perfect natural biological grenades. He reached out to pick one up for a closer look when the largest egg suddenly shook violently. Crimson cracks spiderwebbed across its shell, a tiny stone beetle about to break free. Shit! Lin Che reacted instantly, hurling the volatile egg hard at a massive boulder by the roadside. Boom! A deafening blast split the air. The millstone-sized rock shattered into countless flying shards. Lin Che felt a mix of excitement and worry. He was thrilled by the grenade's devastating power, yet alarmed by how unstable they were. If one hatched or blew up inside his storage space, he'd be reduced to ashes. Brother Lin Che, I've got an idea. Fong Jing hurried over and pointed smartly at her food truck. Cold temperatures stop the eggs from hatching or exploding, right? I've got a fridge in my truck. We can freeze them solid. They sprung into action, carefully placing the remaining eggs into the truck's freezer compartment. Now they finally had a viable source of firepower. But as Lin Che stared at his Fongyuan food truck, pockmarked and dented from the blast, his mood soured again. Fong Jing's vehicle already had pitifully weak defense. The earlier detonation had split the metal plating along its side. His motorcycle was little more than thin metal wrapped around a frame, offering zero protection. This setup would hold up against minor mobs, but they'd stand no chance against powerful beasts or other hostile players. They needed to upgrade the truck with heavy armor as soon as possible. All right, let's upgrade your truck first. These carapaces will work perfectly for the job. Lin Che pulled out the 10 beetle carapaces he'd collected, alongside scrap steel stripped from the bald man's vehicle earlier, and walked over to the food truck. Fong Jing, initiate armor upgrades for your vehicle. Fong Jing was stunned by his generosity, but quickly complied. At his command, a blinding white light engulfed the truck entirely. The boxy, fragile little vehicle began reshaping itself. The gray beetle carapace material spread evenly across the hull before hardening into smooth, dome-shaped, curved armor plating. Vehicle armor upgrade complete. Spiral shell composite armor, forged from fused beetle carapace and steel alloy. Its sleek, rounded design delivers superior impact resistance and high projectile deflection rates, matching the defensive power of solid high-tensile steel of equal thickness. Wow, it looks amazing. Overjoyed, Fong Jing jumped up and planted a loud kiss on Lin Che's cheek. You're the best, brother Lin Che. The girl was incredibly affectionate, yet Lin Che wasted no time dwelling on the kiss. His expression hardened abruptly as he shoved her aside, drawing his pistol in a flash and aiming at a boulder dozens of meters ahead. We'll talk about repaying me later. dangers still lurking nearby. His gaze turned icy as he fired a test shot behind a rock. Bang! The bullet struck stone, sending sparks showering outward. Come out. I've spotted you. Silence greeted his shout. No sound or movement followed. They ducked low and crept cautiously toward the boulder. Circling around it, they found no lurking monsters. Only a blue car flipped into the roadside ditch. A young man sat motionless in the driver's seat, long deceased. He clearly hadn't survived whatever threat he'd faced. Fong Jing released a shaky breath, patting her chest in relief. You scared me half to death. It's just a dead player. And don't get any ideas. I never said I'd repay you with my body or anything. Lin Shay ignored her bashful complaints. His gaze locked on a silver tablet clutched tight in the corpse's hand. Obtained, regional digital map, grade A item. Description, precious strategic supply. Upon entering a new zone, spend gold to unlock detailed terrain, resource locations, and hidden threat markers for the area. Lin Shay's face lit up with delight. Traversing the mist-shrouded godforsaken highway relied entirely on blind luck. Owning this map was like unlocking a god's eye view of the whole region. Holy hell, we hit the jackpot. What's that? Fong Jing leaned in to peek. Lin Shay smirked as he carefully wiped clean the tablet screen. A faint hum of electricity filled the air, and a pale blue hologram unfurled before them. Bold red text flashed at the center of the display. Gravel Canyon Regional Map activated. The late player had already unlocked the canyon map for them. Lin Shay had struck lucky, scavenging his body. Immediately after, a stream of usage rules scrolled across the hologram like live chat. Terrain mapping. Render full zone geography. Mark live monster red dots. Cost per use, 100 gold. Monster database. Unlock detailed stats, skills and weaknesses of local creatures. Base cost, 50 gold per species. Endgame bosses cost extra. Treasure radar. Scan the entire map to pinpoint one hidden treasure chest. Cost per use, 50 gold. Mist zone warning. Fog-shrouded areas with signal interference cannot be scanned. Explore manually. Lin Shay's eyes twitched in shock. This item was a game-changing strategic tool for survival. While other survivors stumbled blindly through pitch-black fog, all he needed was gold to reveal the entire map. Fong Jing, however, wilted like a plant doused in cold water. She nodded at the corpse at their feet. But brother Lin Shay, this guy had such an overpowered tool. So how'd he end up dead? Is this map cursed or something? Lin Shay glanced at the constant pay gold prompts glowing on the hologram, then at the pitifully sparse supplies left in the dead man's car, and shook his head helplessly. It's simple, he was flat broke. Every single feature costs extra gold. He scraped together enough to buy the tablet hardware, but had nothing left to unlock even a single monster entry. He only activated the basic terrain view, charged blindly into the canyon, and ran straight into a monster horde. Fong Jing nodded thoughtfully after hearing his explanation. Fair enough. This system's just like those predatory mobile games. Ads pop up the second you log in, and you have to pay cash for every little feature. But, she shot Lin Shay a sympathetic glance. We're not much better off, are we? Didn't you blow every last coin you own buying that pistol earlier? Lin Shay truly had no money left. The zero balance staring back at him from his account panel mocked his poverty. Yet he stayed calm, turning to pin her with his deep, intense stare. You still have gold left, don't you? Fong Jing shifted nervously under his gaze, eyes darting away as she instinctively covered the pouch at her waist. And no, I don't think so. Fine, I've only got 50 gold left anyway. Hand over 300. Lin Shay's tone was calm and unyielding. How did you know I had 300? Fong Jing blurted out the truth before she could stop herself, her face flaming bright red. So you've got more than 300 then? Lin Shay raised an eyebrow. Give me 300 first. Fong Jing pouted miserably, hesitating for ages before reluctantly transferring 300 gold to Lin Shay via the system, grumbling quietly the whole time. Ugh, fine, here you go. I started with 500 gold, earned another 100 from killing monsters, spent 100 on healing potions. After I give you this 300, I'll only have 200 left to save up for food ingredients. You started with 500? Lin Shay nearly choked in disbelief. Why did he spawn into this world penniless? I'll let you keep the remaining 200 for now. Shoving his bitter envy aside, Lin Shay immediately operated the map tablet. Ding. 100 gold consumed. The nearest hidden treasure chest in this zone has been marked. Ding. 100 gold consumed. Boss monster database for this zone unlocked. A massive holographic close-up popped into view. Rockslide Colossal Crab LV.9 description. Lord tier mutant spawned from canyon bedrock, as large as a compact truck. Its massive pincers shear clean through steel with ease. Skills: trigger rock avalanches, generate localized minor earthquakes. Weakness analysis: its joint segments grow sluggish from constant heavy load, slowing its movement drastically. Sustained high heat triggers an overload reaction in its core armor, causing spontaneous self-destruction. Fong Jing leaned forward to stare at the hologram of the terrifying giant crab, her legs turning to jelly. It's horrifying, Brother Lin Che. That crab could crush our truck and us into a tin can sandwich. Can we take a detour instead? Lin Che shook his head, gazing deep into the canyon. There's no alternate route. This giant crab blocks the only path leading to the service station. Turning back would drag us into unknown dangers, and we'll never reach the supply point before the survival countdown hits 0. Then what do? Fight it head-on. Fong Jing's eyes went wide with alarm. We kill it. Afterwards, we'll roast its crab claws for dinner. Lin Che spoke casually, as if discussing tonight's menu. Fong Jing remained ready to back down. Just the two of us alone? Want to take it on by yourself? I won't stop you. Ugh. All right, I'll follow your lead. Fong Jing stamped her foot, putting on a brave front. I'll stick with you through life or death. Lin Che's brow twitched at her wording. That sentence sounds weird coming from you. Fong Jing blushed, shoving his arm shyly. Hurry up, let's go roast that giant crab already. Instead of moving, Lin Che swung his motorcycle around, staring at another marker on the map. Fong Jing called out in confusion. Wait, you're going the wrong way. Patience. A workman must first sharpen his tools. Follow me. Where are we going? We grab that treasure chest first. Otherwise, we'll march straight to our deaths unarmed, and your leftover 200 gold will be wasted. Genius. The map says the chest's this way. What are we waiting for? Let's move. I love treasure chests. Fong Jing buzzed with excitement, acting as if they were playing a harmless open-world game. But this game offered no second chances. Death here was permanent. The narrow, rocky trail wound deeper, the terrain growing rougher by the minute. Fong Jing's newly armored food truck boasted strong defense, yet its low chassis made travel impossible over the jagged stones. Park the truck behind that boulder out of sight. Hop onto my motorcycle. Lin Che patted the empty rear seat. Fong Jing eyed the tiny narrow seat awkwardly. This doesn't seem right. I'll feel so embarrassed. Quit stalling. You had no shame crawling into my tent last night. Lin Che rolled his eyes. Fong Jing pouted and swung herself onto the bike without further protest. Hold on tight. Don't blame me if you fall off. Okay. I hear you. Fong Jing lightly clutched the hem of Lin Che's shirt, feigning shyness. Lin Che smirked and twisted the throttle hard, the bike surging forward like an arrow released from its bow. Whoa! The sudden forward momentum sent Fong Jing flying against his back. Her arms wrapped tightly around his waist out of instinct, pressing her whole body flush against him. The moment their bodies collided, Lin Che felt too soft, full curves press firmly into his spine. Definitely all natural like you said. What? The wind's too loud. I can't hear you. Fong Jing shouted over the rushing air. Nothing. Just hold on tighter. Fong Jing grew bold, her curious hands wandering across Lin Che's stomach. Wow, you've got abs. 1, 2, 8 solid ones. Don't act so surprised. You need a strong physique to survive this hellscape. Then, do you have pectoral muscles too? Can I touch those as well? Fong Jing grew bolder, nearly draping her entire body over his back. That's enough, you little hooligan. Lin Che sighed in exasperation. The girl truly took advantage of any kindness shown to her. The motorcycle wove through several narrow rocky crevices and halted before a dead-end rock wall. Fong Jing lifted her head, eyes sparkling with excitement. Lin Che, look up there. Perched atop a 5-meter-tall boulder, a gray treasure chest glinted faintly in the dim light. Let's check what loot we've got here. Lin Che climbed off the bike, ready to scale the rock face. He silently hoped for heavy firepower or combat gear. Without it, he had no clue how they'd defeat the giant crab deep in the canyon. Fong Jing shared his excitement until a gray blur leaped down from the rock wall behind the boulder, carrying a revolting stench. Watch out! Thud! Dust billowed into the air. A giant lizard the size of a young calf stood before them. Its gray scales shimmered with metallic sheen, the spiked plates along its tail sharp as jagged saw blades, glinting coldly in the shadows. Good God! Lin Che run. Terrified, Fong Jing spun around to sprint back to the motorcycle. Lin Che grabbed the back of her shirt, standing calm and unshaken. Why run? You can't flee from every small obstacle as soon as it pops up. Small obstacle? Are you insane? Don't drag me down with you if you want to die. What's there to fear? I've got a pistol. Lin Che snorted, drawing his gun and firing 3 rapid shots straight at the lizard's skull. Pop, 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 clang, clang, clang. Sparks sprayed everywhere. The 3 bullets hit the lizard's head dead on, yet ricocheted off its scales without leaving a single scratch, sounding as if they'd struck thick steel plating. Both froze in shock. Are you kidding me? Is this thing even carbon-based? Fong Jing's voice trembled with terror. A system notification popped up instantly. Iron Rock Monitor Lizard LV.7 Description. Mutated species native to iron-rich mineral zones. After decades of consuming iron ore, its scales evolved to match standard steel in defensive strength. This is ridiculous. It grows steel skin just from eating, or? Lin Che cursed loudly. Fong Jing cowered behind him, yet still tried to cheer him up. Well, your shots were perfectly aimed, and you looked really cool shooting it. This isn't the time for flattery. We need to go. Lin Che reacted instantly, swinging a leg over the motorcycle, yanking Fong Jing aboard, and spinning the bike around with a sharp drift before flooring the throttle. Enraged by the 3 bullet wounds, the monitor lizard let out a low rumbling roar. It sprinted after them on all fours, like a rampaging tiny armored vehicle hot on their trail. Faster! It's catching up! Fong Jing shrieked, staring at the monster's gaping jaws inches behind them. Yet Lin Che refrained from maxing out the bike's speed. While his motorcycle was no high-end combat vehicle, it easily outpaced the giant lizard. He had no intention of running away. He planned to find an opening to kill the beast instead. Fong Jing, duck your head down. Don't block my line of sight. Lin Che twisted his torso sharply to the side, raising his pistol to aim for the lizard's eyes. From past experience, monsters covered in full metal plating always held their only weak point in their eyes. But when he turned his head, his peripheral vision inevitably fell on Fong Jing. Due to the bike's jolting and inertia, she was pressed flush against his back. Her full, milky white breasts strained tight beneath her top, nearly spilling out from the neckline, bouncing up and down within Lin Che's line of sight. Damn it, my eyes locked on target automatically. He drew a deep breath to calm himself, refocusing his aim on the giant lizard. Bang! A perfect headshot. The lizard's left eye burst open in a mess of fluid. Hiss! The rock lizard let out a blood-curdling shriek. Its massive body lost balance mid-charge, thrashing and convulsing across the sand, kicking up clouds of dust. Moments later, its movements faded. The beast lay motionless on the ground, only its jagged tail twitching mindlessly. Fong Jing clung to Lin Che's back, cautiously poking her head out. Is it dead? Lin Che blew the gunpowder smoke off the muzzle, his eyes narrowing slightly. Don't get close yet. This thing's tough to kill. Stay sharp. Lin Che didn't let his guard down. He slammed on the brakes, skidding the motorcycle sideways a dozen meters away. Gripping the pistol whose barrel still radiated faint heat, he stepped slowly toward the cloud of dust. The rock lizard lay on its side, black blood gushing non-stop from its punctured eye. It looked thoroughly dead, but looks were deceiving. The second Lin Che stepped within 3 meters of it, the iron-scaled rock lizard erupted into motion. Its powerful hind legs gouged deep trenches in the sand. Its tail, lined with metal serrations, whipped forward like a heavy steel whip skimming the ground, cutting through the air with a shrill whistle, aiming straight for his midsection. Lin Che, look out! Fong Jing screamed from behind him. Luckily, Lin Che's reflexes were razor-sharp. His pupils shrank to pinpricks, and his body dodged on pure instinct. Knowing he couldn't fully evade the wide-range strike, he gripped his long steel blade firmly and held it sideways to block. Clang! Crack! A deafening clash of metal rang out. The forged steel cleaver shattered instantly. The brutal force surged down the blade and slammed into Lin Che's arms. Lin Che let out a muffled groan. He was sent flying like a broken kite, crashing hard into a massive boulder behind him. Uffed! A mouthful of blood spurted from his lips. His insides felt wrenched out of place, and his vision blackened as he slipped into unconsciousness. Lin Che? Fong Jing paled instantly, hot tears spilling down her cheeks. She scrambled over to his side, trying to hoist the 1.8-meter man onto her back to run. But she didn't stand a chance of moving him. The lizard twisted its body around. Its remaining single eye glinted with savage malice, and it opened its gaping maw lined with barbs and stinking mucus, lumbering closer step by step. Fong Jing's legs turned to jelly. She collapsed onto the sand beside Lin Che. There was no saving him. Yet she didn't run. Biting her lip, tears splattering the ground, she spread her arms wide without hesitation, shielding the unconscious Lin Che like a mother hen guarding her chicks. Don't come near us. I'm not afraid of you, she shouted with her eyes squeezed shut. The cold-blooded mutated lizard felt no sympathy for human bravery. Its reeking jaws lunged straight for Fong Jing's delicate neck. But the Lin Shay who'd supposedly passed out suddenly snapped his eyes open. He tossed 3 glowing red explosive stone beetle eggs straight down the lizard's open throat. In the same motion, he rolled to his feet, swept the terrified Fong Jing into his arms, and leaped clear of the beast. Fong Jing's eyes flew wide, flooded with relief. Lin Shay, you're alive. Quiet. Get down. Before she could finish speaking, Lin Shay tackled her hard to the sand, covering her entire body with his own as a shield. Boom. A muffled, thunderous explosion erupted inside the lizard's body. Though the rock lizard's scales were hard as steel, its soft internal organs offered no protection. The 3 high-yield eggs detonated simultaneously in its stomach. With nowhere for the explosive force to escape, the creature blew apart from the inside out. Gray scales, fetid flesh, and broken limbs showered the surrounding rocks like a brutal rain. Huff, cough. Lin Shay exhaled shakily, wincing and coughing from the searing pain in his chest. Lin Shay, are you okay? Are you hurt anywhere? Fong Jing was crushed beneath his weight, yet her gaze brimmed with worry. Her small hands pat frantically over his back, searching for wounds. I'm fine, won't die. Lin Shay gasped, collapsing onto Fong Jing's chest. Let me rest here a minute to catch my breath. Fong Jing's face flushed bright red. Oh, okay. Okay, my foot. I faked death to ambush it, and you decided to stand in front of me. We both could have died back there. I didn't know. I thought you were really gone. Lin Shay pushed himself upright and helped Fong Jing to her feet. Relax, I'm not mad. You did well, not running off and leaving me behind. Hee, of course I wouldn't. I'm super loyal. Fong Jing grinned foolishly. Lin Shay stared at the girl, a hint of admiration softening his gaze. All right, time to collect our loot. The two stumbled upright, supporting each other, as the system kill notification finally popped up. Mutated Iron Rock Lizard LV.7 eliminated. Predator energy gained. Plus 12 total accumulated, 22. Dropped loot. Mutated Lizard Claws times 2. High Tensile Iron Scales times 5. Kill reward. Base Gold plus 100. EXP plus 300. System conversion. EXP converted to gold, plus 300 gold. Current balance, 400. Fong Jing also received a notification. As an assistant who aided the fight and provided key buffs, she earned 100 gold and 100 EXP. The rewards were mediocre at best, but Lin Shay paid no mind to the materials. They hadn't come all this way for a lizard. They'd come for the treasure chest atop the boulder. The two clambered up the 5-meter-tall rock. At its summit, the chest marked on their map glowed faint silver light. Open it. Open it. Fong Jing rubbed her hands together excitedly. Lin Shay stepped forward and flipped the lid open. Wooden chest opened. Obtained. Gold times 50. Obtained. Ordinary stone times 10. Obtained. Ordinary timber times 10. Lin Shay. Fong Jing. A light wind swept over them, and both wore utterly dejected expressions. That's it. Just this garbage. Fong Jing stared in shock. I spent 100 gold to unlock the map radar, just to find a wooden crate full of junk? We nearly lost our lives over this. This system's a total rip-off. Furious, Lin Shay raised his foot and stomped hard on the empty wooden chest. Crack. The crate shattered into splinters. But as wood fragments flew everywhere, a blinding golden light burst forth from the base of the wreckage. Where the wooden chest had stood, streams of data swirled, and an ornate brass chest with polished heavy metallic luster spawned in its place. Brass chest acquired. A chest inside a chest? What the hell? This trick. Lin Shay's eyes blew wide, and he burst out laughing. Risk always matches reward. I knew that stupid lizard wouldn't waste its time guarding a worthless wooden box. Fong Jing rubbed her hands eagerly and lifted the brass chest's lid. A flood of system alerts popped up instantly. Brass tier, chest opened. Electromagnetic shock, grenade times 3. Upon impact, unleashes a small area high-frequency EMP blast to disable vehicle electronics and some mechanical life forms. Mid-grade fuel times 3. Double the combustion efficiency of standard fuel. Boost vehicle range by 100 and raise top speed by 30 while burning. Gold times 800. Modified M249 vehicle light machine gun times 1. Universal weapon module, mountable on any vehicle. Uses 5.56 caliber rounds, 50 round magazine capacity. Standard ammo times 300 rounds. Broad spectrum antibiotics times 3. Precious medical supplies. Cures most bacterial infections. Oh my goodness. Fong Jing covered her mouth, staring starry-eyed at the mountain of valuable supplies. Brother Lin Shay, look at all this. We've struck it rich. All the loot was incredible, but Lin Shay immediately grabbed the cold metallic vehicle machine gun. Real men wield firepower like this. We've hit the jackpot this round. Lin Shay gazed at the haul, wild joy lighting up his face. The 3 electromagnetic shock grenades hummed with faint blue arcing electricity, clearly devastating weapons. They were perfect countermeasures against machinery and electronic systems, sure to prove invaluable later. But the vehicle machine gun excited him most. His pistol earlier couldn't even scratch the lizard scales, leaving him painfully aware of his lacking firepower. This machine gun marked a massive leap in combat strength. The only downside, the system only provided 300 rounds. It wouldn't last long against swarms of monsters. He'd need to stockpile more ammo. As he pondered this, his virtual screen flickered, and a bold golden server-wide banner popped up. System notice. Total cumulative survival time of all living players has reached 1 full day. World chat channel unlocked. Online trading system unlocked. Immediately, the bottom right corner of his system panel flooded with non-stop chat messages that scrolled like a waterfall. World scampering snail. What the hell kind of place is this? My starting gear's an old rusty bicycle. I never learned to ride one in my life. Help. World wind-tousled leg hairs. Can anyone tell me how to travel 500 kilometers in 2 days on a broken rickshaw? Asking urgently. World dragon tyrant. Haha. My starter rides a heavy-duty cargo truck. Cowards nearby, come to coordinates X. 124, Y. 88 to team up. I take 70 of all loot. Female players get priority. You know what that means. World Scar of Shark Gang. All Shark Gang members have arrived at Rest Stop C19. Travelers welcome to trade and chat. We don't start fights, but we won't back down from them either. World Innocent Lily. Whoa, kind brother, can someone come pick me up at the gray limestone foothills? My scooter's dead, and wolves are howling all around. I'll do anything if you give me a ride. Attached. 20 years old, curvy figure. World Mad Max. Buying fuel. Top price for fuel. I'll trade anything for it. World Fearless Gunner. Anyone selling ammo? 5.56 and 7.62 caliber rounds wanted. DM me your price. World Desperate Miner. Guys, does anyone know what that huge black serpentine thing in the swamp is, as long as a train? I emptied 100 rounds and didn't even break its skin. It's seen me, huh? Lin Shay skimmed the messages coldly and closed the world chat without hesitation. It was far too noisy. There might be useful intel buried in the spam, but now was not the time to sift through it. He opened the newly unlocked online trading tab and searched ammo. The listing refreshed instantly. 5.56 ammo times 100. Price, 200 gold. 5.56 ammo times 100. Price, 150 gold. 5.56 ammo times 100. Price, 250 gold. 5.56 ammo times 100. Price, 1200 gold. Lin Shay raised an eyebrow. The trading system had just gone live, and players were pricing goods randomly with no consistent market standard. He registered the ID, My Shield Blade, locked onto the seller listing ammo for 150 gold, and sent a private message at once. My Shield Blade. Hey man, I need 300 rounds. Can you cut the price? School Mandarin Orange. Bro, this is already the lowest price on the market, I can't go lower. Wait a sec, I'll jack my listing up to 1200 first, then we can haggle more room down. My Shield Blade. Alright, cut the nonsense. 150 per 100. I'll take 5 stacks, total 750 gold, no price hikes. School Mandarin Orange. That's the spirit, you're a straightforward guy. Trade request sent. After paying the gold he'd just earned, 500 glinting rounds materialized in Lin Shay's storage space. He now held 800 rounds total. Not a massive stockpile, but enough to hold him over for a while. Every shot I fire costs gold. Wish there was an infinite ammo exploit. Lin Shay considered searching for cheat items, but the server had only just launched. No such overpowered goods existed yet. A new message popped up from the seller he'd traded with earlier. School Mandarin Orange. Hey bro, you got any antibiotics? I desperately need a vial to save someone. Antibiotics? Lin Shay actually had 3 broad-spectrum antibiotics from the brass chest. In this wasteland, this medicine was priceless, capable of pulling someone back from the brink of death. My Shield Blade. I have them. 500 gold per dose. School Mandarin Orange. What? You're robbing me. Why not just hit a bank? My Shield Blade. Don't think I can't tell you're injured and desperate to save someone. Simple supply and demand. School Mandarin Orange. Damn you, greedy merchant. I'll find another seller without you. Lin Shay smiled faintly and closed the chat window, uninterested in haggling further. For one thing, he was reluctant to sell the antibiotics. They were life-saving emergency supplies, and he only had 3 doses total. Finishing the trade, Lin Che walked over to Fong Jing and laid out all their newly acquired loot. Come on, little chef, time to split the spoils. But Fong Jing shook her head thoughtfully. No, you keep all of it, Lin Che. I'd be dead without you back there. All supplies stay with you from now on. I'll follow your lead. The girl trusted him completely now, her expression practically screaming she belonged to him heart and soul. Lin Che didn't argue. He stowed all the supplies and nodded at her. When he'd faked death to ambush the lizard, this girl who trembled at the sight of exploding bug larvae had stood in front of him to shield his body. That alone made up his mind to look out for her from here on out. All right, take this then. Lin Che pulled out the pistol he'd purchased for 500 gold and pressed it into her hands. Keep this for self-defense. Don't try beating monsters with a frying pan next time you're in danger. The young girl's eyes lit up. She stroked the pistol fondly, then threw her arms around Lin Che's arm and rubbed against him happily. Thanks, boss. You're the best. Lin Che then walked to his scavenger motorcycle, pulled up the system panel, and selected to mount the vehicle machine gun. Clack, clack, clack. Installation was idiot-proof. A crisp series of mechanical clicks echoed as the imposing heavy machine gun locked onto the motorcycle's front frame, its dark barrel pointing straight ahead. Wow, that's so cool. Fong Jing gasped beside him, suddenly less impressed with her tiny pistol. Even better, when Lin Che tapped the gun's icon again, the weapon folded back into the bike's frame with more mechanical whirring, completely hidden from sight. Insane. As Lin Che marveled at the design, his system private messages flashed frantically. Ding ding ding. You have new unread messages. He opened it to find the stubborn seller, School Mandarin Orange. School Mandarin Orange. Fine, I concede. 500 gold it is. Send the trade, I'll buy it. My shield blade. Make it 600. School Mandarin Orange. Are you kidding me? Don't push your luck. My gold didn't grow on trees. My shield blade. 800. Lin Che only wanted to test the man's bottom line and earn extra gold to upgrade his motorcycle. He hadn't expected the seller to cave entirely. School Mandarin Orange. All right, you win, you ruthless bastard. 800 gold. But I really don't have that much on hand. I only have the 750 I paid you for ammo plus my leftover 100, 850 gold total, every last coin I've scraped together. My shield blade, 1000. School Mandarin Orange. You're unbelievable. Sigh, brother, it's not even for me. My sister got cut open by falling rock while fleeing monsters, and her wounds severely infected. She's burning with fever, barely hanging on. Only antibiotics can save her. I've scoured the entire trading post and can't find a single dose. Please, I'm begging you. Fong Jing peeked over Lin Che's shoulder as she read the heartfelt plea, falling silent instantly. Lin Che, what if we give it to him? Lin Che gave neither confirmation nor denial. He was just about to exit the chat and block the person when he suddenly acted as if a twinge of conscience hit him and typed a reply. My blade shield. Ugh, fine bro. I've got a heart too. I get how tough you've got it. I'll take only 750 gold. Just give me back the money you spent on bullets earlier. Use the rest to take good care of your little sister. School Mandarin Orange. Thank you so much, man. May good people live long, happy lives. I'll throw in an extra 50 rounds of 5.56 ammo for you. Best bro ever. My blade shield. It's nothing, really. We're all struggling out here. Trade successful. Obtain 750 gold coins. Obtain times 55.56 rounds. Lin Che's gold was returned to him, and he'd even scored 50 free rounds of ammo on top. Before he could close the chat window, another message popped up from the other party. School Mandarin Orange. Haha, what an idiot. You fell for it. I don't even have a little sister. I lied to you, dumbass. Haha, what a scumbag. The second Fong Jing read the taunt. Her face flushed bright red with rage. She planted her hands on her hips and shouted furiously. Shameless con artist. I actually felt sorry for you. May that bastard rot. Contrary to her expectations, Lin Che didn't fly off the handle at all. Instead, a mischievous grin tugged at the corner of his mouth. Lin Che was no saint with an unshakable moral compass. He'd never show mercy just because someone spun a sob story. He copied a product link he'd seen in the trade hall moments ago and sent it straight to the man. My blade shield. Forwarded link. Broad spectrum antibiotics. 300 gold per vial. Click to buy instantly. Broad spectrum antibiotics. 300 gold per vial. Click to buy instantly. Broad spectrum antibiotics. 300 gold per vial. Click to buy instantly. Lin Che was just as petty, spamming 3 identical links to School Mandarin Orange. Clearly, the scammer hadn't bothered checking market prices while putting on his poor act. He thought he'd ripped Lin Che off big time for 750 gold coins. 3 seconds later. School Mandarin Orange. Fuck you to hell. School Mandarin Orange. You goddamned crooked merchant. School Mandarin Orange. Shit at times. Don't let me run into you. Watching the guy lose his cool was immensely satisfying. Lin Shay closed the chat system, thoroughly pleased. Not a bad trade. I even came out ahead. Fong Jing, take these 50 rounds. They'll fit your pistol perfectly. Hop in the vehicle. We're heading back to cook. Got it, boss. Pan-seared mini steaks with soybean paste noodles. The combination sounded bizarre, but the buff the food granted was surprisingly good. Consume special cuisine pan-seared mini steak, grade C. Gain temporary buff. Strength +2, agility +2, lasts 2 hours. Yet Fong Jing's expression turned glum. Even though she'd started with more supplies than most survivors, the two of them were burning through resources double time. Lin Shay, our food reserves are almost gone. All the meat and fresh veggies we stored in the fridge are used up. We might really end up eating dirt soon. Lin Shay wiped his mouth and nodded. I still have some dry rations and compressed biscuits in my storage space. If we ration them strictly, they'll last us 2 more days. But without the stat boosts from your home cooking, our combat power will drop drastically. We've got a machine gun now, but we should avoid unnecessary fights from here on out. Lin Shay knew better than anyone. In this dog-eat-dog world, lay low when you have to, strike hard when the moment calls. Blind overconfidence gets you killed fast. Fong Jing nodded obediently again and again. Okay, I'll listen to you. Once we hit the next rest stop with vending machines, we'll find a way to stock up on ingredients. Okay, I'll listen to you. Rest for 10 minutes after eating, then we're going to take down that giant crab up ahead. Stick to my orders once fighting breaks out. Take these bio-grenades made from stone beetle eggs and use them when the chance arises. Aim carefully, don't hurl one straight at me. Okay, I'll listen to you. Lin Shay stared at her, exasperated. Are you a broken record? Can you say anything else? Fong Jing blinked her big watery eyes, leaned in slightly, and cooed in a soft, sweet voice. You're so handsome. Brother, can I make a move on you? It was obvious the girl had developed a crush. He was good-looking, a capable fighter, and most importantly, he could keep her alive. Lin Shay planted a palm flat against her forehead and pushed her away. Quit daydreaming. Up you get, we're about to fight. After their short break, the two vehicles rumbled forward once more. Fong Jing pouted, still miffed by Lin Shay's cold reaction. It didn't make sense, with her looks and figure. How could she get rejected? Was he into men? No way. Last night in the tent he'd clearly reacted. Boom, boom, boom. Before the love-struck girl could finish her train of thought, the ground shook violently, as if heavy tanks were rumbling right beneath their feet. Stones rattled and showered down from the surrounding cliff faces. Shit. Earthquake, Lin Shay. Fong Jing shrieked in terror inside her dining vehicle, her face drained of color. Lin Shay slammed on the brakes, dragged her out of the dining car, and tossed her onto the back seat of his motorcycle. It's no damn earthquake. The monster spotted us. Your dining rig's way too slow. Get on my bike now. The two weaved swiftly through the rocky rubble. Barely catching their breath, they spotted a colossal creature slowly crawling around the bend of the canyon ahead, shrouded in billowing dust. First came a pair of massive crab pincers, followed by a truck-sized torso covered in thick rocky carapace, with glints of metallic alloy peeking through cracks in the stone shell. Rockslide Giant Crab LV.9 Elite Massive Mechanical Beast with extreme physical defense, capable of triggering rock slides. Weak point, turbine core beneath its abdomen. Both froze, Fong Jing's jaw dropping open in shock. It's that huge. What did you expect? You want to boil it in a pot? I mean, I wouldn't mind trying, but it's all rock and metal, probably tastes terrible. She still had the nerve to crack jokes at a time like this. The girl had a solid mental fortitude. Lin Shay had no patience for banter. Enough daydreaming, glutton. Climb up to that high rocky ledge on the right. Grab your Molotovs and grenades, and don't come down until I signal you. Lin Shay issued sharp, decisive commands. Fong Jing knew she'd only be a liability down on the ground. She gritted her teeth, hopped off the bike, and scrambled up a jagged rock platform via a narrow fissure. She held a small handgun, homemade gasoline Molotovs, stone beetle bio-grenades, plus one precious electromagnetic shock grenade. Her arsenal looked plentiful, but it would barely scratch such a towering beast. Once Fong Jing was positioned safely, Lin Shay twisted the throttle hard. The scavenger's bike roared as he swerved in serpentine patterns around the crab's enormous body. Rat-a-tat-a-tat. The mounted machine gun deployed. Lin Shay pressed the trigger firmly with his left hand, unleashing a relentless hail of bullets that slammed into the giant crab. Sparks flew everywhere, yet the crab's thick rocky shell proved absurdly durable. The machine gun rounds only chipped tiny fragments of stone off its armor, dealing negligible damage. This rock shell's impenetrable. From her vantage point high above, Fong Jing lit a Molotov cocktail. Try my barbecue special, you brute. Crash. The glass bottle shattered across the crab's back, and flammable gasoline ignited in a choking blaze. The scorching flames couldn't burn through the rock carapace, but they seared and jammed the monster's mechanical joints. Creak, creak, creak. Tormented by the heat, the crab let out shrill mechanical whines and slowed its movements drastically. It thrashed its massive body wildly, trying to smother the flames covering its back, and even attempted to burrow underground to escape the fire. Now's our chance. Lin Che's eye sharpened. The moment the crab lowered its head, he steered the motorcycle straight at its face like a spear, tilting the machine gun barrel upward to aim true. Rat-a-tat, splurch. A long burst of bullets raked across the crab's face. Stray rounds blew out its massive, bulbous mechanical left eye, spraying black motor oil and showering sparks everywhere. It worked, but the crab flew into a murderous rage. Its remaining eye blazed bright red. It swung its massive metal right pincer with cataclysmic force, sweeping low across the ground. Watch out! Lin Che reacted in the blink of an eye. Just as the pincer was about to crush the motorcycle in two, he pushed hard against the foot pegs and launched himself off the bike like a bird. Clang! The scavenger's bike was sent flying by the giant pincer, tumbling end over end before slamming hard into the dirt. The mounted machine gun sputtered and died completely. Lin Che rolled across the ground to absorb the impact. Before he could steady his feet, the crab's second pincer crashed down toward him like a collapsing mountain. Without the machine gun for backup, Lin Che drew his giant cleaver and braced it upward to block the blow. Clang! The force difference was staggering. Lin Che's arms went numb, and he was sent flying backward. Jagged rock fragments sliced two deep gashes across his shoulder and right thigh, blood gushing freely from the wounds. Shit! Lin Che stumbled backward, fighting back searing agony. He pulled two stone beetle grenades from his storage space and hurled them straight under the crab's legs. Boom! Boom! Dual explosions sent the giant crab staggering several steps backward. Gasping for air, Lin Che pulled out a faint blue electromagnetic shock grenade, his trump card. He only had 3 of these grenades total. He needed the perfect opening to land a finishing blow. Meanwhile, the crab, still burning from Fong Jing's 2 Molotovs, snapped into a full berserk frenzy. Engulfed in roaring flames, the colossal monster charged blindly back and forth through the canyon, smashing into every rock formation in its path. Boom, boom, boom. Lin Che struggled back to his feet, ready to retrieve his bike and resume firing. But the enraged rockslide giant crab had locked onto him. It swept its pincer wide. A boulder the size of a cannonball hurtled through the air and slammed dead center into Lin Che's chest. Crabs could throw rocks. Who could have seen that coming? Gag. Lin Che crashed backward into the cliff wall like a tattered sack, coughing up a mouthful of blood. If the stat boost from Fong Jing's cooking hadn't drastically raised his damage resistance, that single hit would have shattered every rib and ruptured his internal organs. Lin Che. Fong Jing watched in horror from the ledge, her vision blurring with panic. She stood without a second thought, hurling her last Molotov straight at the crab's head while firing her handgun nonstop. She tossed another stone beetle grenade, desperate to draw the monster's attention onto herself. You overgrown crustacean. Come get me. Focus on me. The crab was infuriated by the constant harassment from above. It whipped its head around, fixing its unblinking gaze on Fong Jing's rocky perch. Its enormous pincer slammed downward without mercy at the platform. Crumble. The stone ledge collapsed instantly. Fong Jing leaped agilely off the falling rubble, but she misjudged her landing. A sharp crack echoed as her ankle twisted violently. She crumpled to the ground, sweat pouring down her face from the excruciating pain, unable to stand or run. The crab raised its pincer once more, its massive shadow swallowing Fong Jing whole. Escape was impossible. Over here, you beast. Everyone thought Lin Che was too injured to move, yet he dragged himself upright and circled behind the crab. While the monster bore down on Fong Jing, he hurled his electromagnetic shock grenade dead center at its underbelly. Zap. The EM grenade detonated, no fiery blast, only a visible ring of high-frequency blue electromagnetic pulses washing over the crab's entire body. The once ferocious crab froze mid-snarl, like a machine suddenly unplugged. Blue electric arcs crackled all over its frame, its countless mechanical joints locking rigidly in place. Fong Jing narrowly escaped death. She dragged her twisted ankle across the rocky ground, scrambling over to Lin Che's side. Tears spilled uncontrollably when she saw him covered head to toe in blood. Lin Che, are you okay? Don't scare me. Cough. I'm not dead yet. Lin Che leaned weakly against a boulder, staring at the motionless giant crab. His momentary relief vanished in an instant, his expression turning grim again. Damn it! The dormant crab's abdominal core flared back to life. Electric currents rippled through its mechanical joints, and it lurched back into motion, reactivating once more. What the hell? Despair washed over them both. How was it still alive after all that damage? Fong Jing panicked, her hands trembling as she gripped Lin Che's arm. Lin Che, we need to run. But Lin Che's gaze remained locked on the glowing turbine core under the crab's belly. We have to destroy its core directly. The power source is under its abdomen. We've got to get underneath it, jam an EM grenade straight into the core, and blow it up to kill it for good. Fong Jing froze. She understood the logic perfectly well, but how were they supposed to get the grenade inside? Glancing at Lin Che's barely functional legs, she swiped her tears away roughly, a determined look hardening her features as she pulled out her own electromagnetic shock grenade. I'll do it. The hell you will. Lin Che snapped sharply. Get over to my motorcycle, the machine gun still works. Keep firing nonstop at its eye to draw its full attention. But what about you, move? We're out of time. Fong Jing bit down hard, ignoring the burning agony in her twisted ankle as she limped toward the fallen scavenger's bike. She strained to right the heavy motorcycle and clamped both hands tight on the machine gun trigger. Meanwhile, the crab reactivated fully, its mechanical joints creaking as it raised its giant pincers, ready to crush the two pesky humans to pulp. Over here, you bastard. Lin Che endured tearing pain as he rolled to dodge a sweeping pincer strike. He tossed a stone beetle grenade that exploded right in front of the crab's face. Enraged, the crab sent a hail of flying rock shards hurtling toward Lin Che, slicing fresh bleeding gashes across his body. Die, you oversized crab. Rat-a-tat-a-tat. Thankfully, Fong Jing held the machine gun trigger down, unleashing a relentless stream of bullets at the crab's face and its single remaining eye. The unrelenting heavy fire sent the newly recovered monster into a blind frenzy. It twisted its colossal torso and lumbered toward Fong Jing, roaring as it charged the gunfire. This distraction created the perfect opening for Lin Che, who was already crouched beneath the crab's massive frame. Crippled and racked with pain, Lin Che executed a sliding tackle and skidded straight under the beast's belly. Beneath it sat a rapidly spinning blue energy turbine. The protective casing around it had split open in the earlier explosions, revealing a narrow crack. This is it. He jammed the electromagnetic shock grenade deep inside the whirring turbine core through the fissure. Zip, a split second later, the EM grenade detonated, unleashing a surge of electromagnetic energy inside the crab's abdomen. The pulse instantly overloaded and melted the crab's turbine core. The giant rock crab let out an ear-splitting shriek as death loomed, thrashing violently in its final moments. Then the deep blue electromagnetic wave erupted outward, triggering a catastrophic chain of secondary explosions. The massive mechanical carcass was blown to smithereens, metal debris raining down from the sky. Lin Che, Fong Jing screamed in despair as the crab exploded, certain he'd been caught in the blast and killed instantly. The massive shockwave from the detonation triggered a secondary rock slide. Boulders and jagged stone poured down the canyon's sheer cliffs like a broken dam's floodwaters. Lin Che, Fong Jing hobbled forward toward the wreckage, desperate to find him. Then a voice cut through the dust and chaos. Quit yelling and run. Lin Che was alive. He'd dragged himself free of the crab's shattered frame, clinging to his last shred of strength. He swept Fong Jing off her feet into a bridal carry and stumbled as fast as he could toward the mouth of a rocky cave nearby. The second they stumbled inside the cavern, a deafening crash boomed behind them. Tons of boulders sealed the cave entrance shut completely, the thunderous rumble echoing off the narrow stone walls. Clouds of dust and rock fragments billowed into the cave, with only a tiny slit of rock letting in a faint wisp of daylight. Utter blackness swallowed the cavern. The thick air reeked of iron-rich blood and choking dust. Fong Jing's face warred with every emotion, terror, relief, shock, disbelief, all at once. Lin Che, you're alive. Lin Che slid down to sit against the cold cave wall and coughed up another mouthful of blood. Phew, barely. Still breathing. Lin Che hadn't been stupid enough to trade his life for the crabs. The second the EM grenade blew, he'd ripped loose the already cracked abdominal carapace of the crab and huddled behind it to shield himself from the blast wave. Hearing his voice, Fong Jing felt her way through the dark and threw her arms around him. The crushing terror and overwhelming relief of surviving the fight shattered her composure, and she clung to Lin Che, sobbing uncontrollably. Whoa, I thought you were dead for sure. Lin Shay, you're bleeding so much. Lin Shay felt the girl's trembling body pressed against his chest. He lifted his blood-soaked hand with great difficulty and patted her back gently. His voice was raw and hoarse, yet still carried that infuriatingly calm drawl of his. Hold off on the hugging for a minute. Suffocating would be a dumb way to go after surviving that fight. Move the big grenade off me first. Ugh, you idiot. Lin Shay, are you alright? In the pitch black, Fang Jing sobbed and laughed all at once. Huff. Leaning against the frigid rock wall, Lin Shay shook his head weakly. Don't worry about me. Check the cave entrance first. Fang Jing wiped her tears and scrambled over to the exit blocked by boulders. By the faint glow seeping through, she saw the entrance wedged tight under several multi-ton stone slabs. Only a finger-wide crack let in a thin stream of crimson light from outside. Through that narrow gap, the canyon beyond was littered with rubble and the mangled remains of the giant rock crab they'd blown apart. Worse still, swarms of burst stone beetles burrowed up from underground, circling the crab carcass in a frenzied horde. Fang Jing gasped sharply, relaying every detail of the outside scene to Lin Shay, then reached out frantically to shove the boulder blocking the front. We have to get out of here fast. Don't touch it. Lin Shay snatched her slender wrist in one grip. The tug pulled at his wounds, drawing a muffled groan from his lips. The Crab King only just died, and a horde of enraged stone beetles is swarming outside. If we blast the rocks open now, the two of us wouldn't even make a decent snack for them. Then, what do we do? Fang Jing sank down helplessly, her only hope resting on the gravely injured Lin Shay. Lin Shay focused his mind, summoning his last 2 packs of compressed rations and 2 bottles of purified water. We'll hold out through the night. This cave structure looks stable. We'll wait until dawn, when those monsters disperse. Fang Jing nodded and flicked on her tiny handheld flashlight. The beam swept over Lin Shay's body, and her heart clenched painfully. Huge, gaping gashes tore through his abdomen and arm, raw with exposed flesh. The wound edges were already red and swollen, fresh blood oozing nonstop. Tears welled in Fang Jing's eyes. Without a word, she stripped off her outer shirt. Beneath it, she wore only a tight black camisole. Her striking curves were fully outlined by the thin fabric. Against the dim flashlight glow, her fair skin contrasted starkly with the dark top, an undeniably alluring sight. But Fang Jing paid no mind to her exposed figure. She tore the shirt into long strips and crept carefully forward to bandage his wounds. Her movements were impossibly gentle, yet her hands shook uncontrollably. Bear with it. I've never learned first aid. I don't know how to bandage properly. But tight wrapping is better than bleeding out or getting an infection. Lin Shay hung his head, his gaze landing straight on her close-profile face and her deep cleavage. Fang Jing caught his stare, her cheeks flushing bright red as she forced herself to look away. Can't you focus? This is hardly the time to. Gritting through searing pain, Lin Shay let out a helpless bitter laugh. I'm in agony. I could use anesthetic. Though, did you get some body modification tech done? Your figure's ridiculously disproportionate. Scientifically speaking. Fang Jing had been taught with terror, but his silly comment made her snort, tears trembling at the corners of her eyes as she chided him playfully. Jerk, we're in a life-or-death situation and you're still thinking about that. This is 100% natural. Thank you very much. Oh, I don't buy it. Oomph, believe whatever you want. Fang Jing tilted her chin up in a haughty pout, her big watery eyes locked on his. How about, I prove it to you later? Whoa, hold that thought. Don't get ahead of yourself. Lin Shay lurched backward instinctively, the shift yanking his wounds and making him grimace. I'll take you up on it once I'm healed. I'm in no condition right now. Humph. Fang Jing ducked her head shyly and quickly tied off the bandage securely. Silence hung over them in the darkness for a long moment. Lin Shay pulled up his regional digital map and ran a quick calculation. We're roughly 300 kilometers from the first service station. We've got 32 hours left on our survival countdown. If we rest 8 hours here tonight, we'll still have 24 hours to reach the station by morning. As long as we avoid unnecessary fights along the way, we'll make it. Fang Jing nodded obediently. I'm going to catch some sleep. I'm exhausted. With that, Lin Shay's head lolled to the side, and he slumped motionless against the rock wall. Sleeping like a log, Fang Jing muttered softly, leaning over to adjust him into a more comfortable position. The second her fingers brushed his cheek, she yanked her hand back in shock. Lin Shay's skin burned with an unnatural fever flush, his forehead blazing hot like a stove. He wasn't just sleeping deeply. His severe wounds had gotten infected, sending him crashing into a fever-induced coma. Panic flooded Fang Jing's mind. She paced frantically, like an ant trapped on a hot pan. A sudden thought hit her. Lin Che still held 2 vials of broad-spectrum antibiotics looted from a treasure chest. He'd stashed them on his person instead of his vehicle's storage, prepared for emergencies just like this. Fumbling wildly, she twisted off the needle cap, took a deep breath, squeezed her eyes shut, and drove the syringe hard into Lin Che's thigh. SSH, damn it. The sharp stab jolted Lin Che awake from his coma. He jerked violently, gasping through gritted teeth. Could you aim better, Nurse Fong? What if you hit an artery? I'm so sorry. I've never given an injection before. Tears streamed down Fong Jing's face. You had a raging fever. I knew the wound was infected, so I just stuck you with it. It's fine, I'm not mad. Lin Che watched Fong Jing shiver slightly in only her thin camisole, trembling from cold or fear. He stretched out his uninjured arm, pulled her tight against him, and draped his oversized coat over both of them. Don't catch a chill. I'm burning up from the fever right now. Perfect human heater. Fong Jing's cheeks flushed pink. She did not resist, curling up against his chest like a kitten, listening to his steady heartbeat as she leaned back on the rock wall. Before long, the antibiotics kicked in, and Lin Che's fever slowly broke. Yet he remained terribly weak. Blood continued seeping from his abdominal wound, his breath shallow and labored. Watching him slip back into unconsciousness, Fong Jing's heart twisted with worry. Antibiotics only killed infection-causing bacteria. He'd lost massive amounts of blood. Relying solely on his body's natural recovery would take far too long. But her food truck, the Fong Yuan, was stranded outside the cave. There were no pots, pans, or ingredients here. She had no way to cook restorative healing food. Helpless, she lifted Lin Che's head to rest gently on her lap, letting him lie cushioned against her soft thighs. She dipped torn cloth strips in water and dabbed the cold sweat from his forehead bit by bit. Don't worry, I'm right here. I won't leave you alone. Overwhelmed with anxiety, her gaze fell on the bottle of purified water on the ground. That's it. A brilliant idea struck Fong Jing. She carefully set Lin Che's head back down, then stacked loose stones in the cave corner to build a crude stove. From her pocket, she pulled an unused burst stone beetle egg she'd saved earlier. She sliced a tiny opening into the eggshell, pouring its thick, magma-hot viscous fluid into the stone stove to serve as fuel. Next, she took a small metal lunch tin she carried, filled it with purified water, and set it over the makeshift fire to boil. Within minutes, the water bubbled and steamed furiously. At that exact moment, a dazzling golden light flared in the dim cave. Ding! Masterful cooking, critical hit triggered. Congratulations. Successfully crafted Grade A cuisine. Cuisine name: Healing Clear Broth Tier. Grade A effect: a restorative dish crafted from the simplest ingredients and purest care amid desperation. Upon consumption, fully heals all external and internal wounds, restores maximum stamina. Hot water fixes everything. Reading the system notification, Fong Jing laughed through happy tears. She'd never imagined her first critical hit Grade A dish would be plain boiled water. Ignoring the scalding heat, the young chef carried the tin carefully back to Lin Che, lifting his head to feed him the broth. But Lin Che had lost too much blood, trapped in a deep coma with jaws clamped tight. All the water dribbled uselessly down his chin. Desperation washed over her as she stared at his pale lips, her cheeks flushing bright crimson. After half a second's hesitation, Fong Jing resolved to take a big mouthful of the hot broth and feed it to him mouth to mouth. But the instant she swallowed, SSH, it's boiling hot. The freshly boiled healing clear broth burned her tongue, and she spat the entire mouthful out in shock. Without fail, every drop of scalding hot water splashed straight across Lin Che's face. Holy hell! Lin Che jolted awake, rudely splashed by the sudden rush of boiling liquid. He shot upright and swiped wildly at his face. What was that? I'll confess to anything, Nurse Fong. What on earth are you experimenting with now? Fong Jing's face burned bright red, mixed with faint disappointment, yet she quickly held out the metal tin to him. Here, drink this fast. Lin Che stared in confusion as he took the steaming hot tin. He didn't understand, but he drank it down in one gulp anyway. The second the hot water slid down his throat, a miracle unfolded. A massive, gentle wave of warm energy exploded through his entire body. New flesh sprouted across the gashes on his abdomen and arms before his eyes, wounds scabbing over and flaking away completely, leaving not a single scar behind. More than that, his fractured ribs and damaged internal organs healed instantly, flooding his body with explosive vitality. Wait, what? Lin Che stared down at his smooth, unmarked abs in shock. How did you do this? Seeing him lively and unharmed, Fong Jing heaved a massive sigh of relief. tilting her chin up proudly. Hee hee, my secret chef skill. This healing clear broth I whipped up. Stick with me, and you'll never want for anything. With that, the tension coiled tight in her body all night finally unraveled. She slumped weakly against Lin Che's shoulder and fell fast asleep. Dawn broke faint outside. The crimson glow seeping through the stone crack faded into pale, white morning light. The chittering and scuttling of stone beetles beyond the cave had vanished entirely. Lin Che leaned back against the rock wall, reveling in the boundless stamina surging through him, still unable to believe what had happened. This girl had dragged him straight back from death's door with nothing but a tin of boiled water. Her cooking ability was utterly overpowered. He turned his head to gaze at Fong Jing sleeping soundly on his shoulder. Her face looked worn, faint tear tracks still streaking the corners of her eyes, yet her sleeping expression was soft and peaceful. He lifted his rough fingers to brush gently over her fair cheek. Fong Jing's long eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. When she saw Lin Che wide awake and brimming with energy, she shot upright in delight. "You're all better." Lin Che sat up, rolling his broad shoulders with a satisfying series of bone cracks. "Yeah, fever's gone, every wound fully healed. Your hot water works wonders." Fong Jing patted her chest, completely relieved. "Thank goodness. We can head out now. I don't hear any monsters outside anymore." She moved to stand and shift the boulders, but Lin Che suddenly reached out and pulled her back into his arms. Caught off guard, Fong Jing landed square on his lap, his sturdy arms wrapping tight around her slender waist. Lin Che lowered his head, warm breath fanning her ear. "No rush. The sun hasn't fully risen yet." Fong Jing's face blushed crimson, her heart hammering so hard she feared it would burst from her throat, her voice trembling. What are you planning to do?" Lin Che stared deep into her eyes, a mischievous smirk tugging at his lips. "What do you think?" She felt the overwhelming, possessive heat rolling off his body, her cheeks burning hotter. She clutched tightly at the front of his jacket, bashful pink creeping all the way up her neck. "Then, can we make up for earlier right now?" Before Lin Che could reply, Fong Jing pressed her lips firmly to his. The tiny stove fire inside the cave had long since burned out, leaving only their deep breathing and soft murmurs echoing through the quiet space. Outside, morning sunlight spilled over the rubble canyon. A handful of straggler stone beetles that had missed the crab carcass wandered aimlessly through the wreckage for a moment before burrowing back underground and vanishing. Faint, muffled yet lingering echoes drifted softly through the vast, desolate canyon, swallowed whole by the bitter morning wind sweeping across the barren wasteland. The sun rose fully overhead. The two, now fully dressed, blew apart the boulders blocking the cave entrance. Lin Che drew in a deep breath of cool morning air. Time to collect our loot. They'd slain the landslide giant rock crab yesterday, but hadn't gotten a chance to claim its spoils. The ground lay carpeted with the beast's massive remains. The moment they stepped before its carcass, a system alert chimed inside Lin Che's mind. Landslide, giant rock, crab, LV.9 elite slain. Predation energy gained, plus 50 current total, 70 kill rewards. Base gold plus 500, EXP plus 1000. System conversion, EXP converted proportionally to gold, additional gold plus 1000. Current balance, 1500 gold. Loot drops, 1. Complete heavy vibration alloy chassis blueprint. Fully upgrade vehicle outer plating to vibration alloy armor, drastically boosting physical impact and explosion resistance. Passive bonus, vibration recoil, strikes send shockwaves repelling nearby foes, ideal for ramming melee combat. Required materials, 100 alloy rock plating, any energy core for power supply. Vehicle requirement, Grade D vehicle. Modified giant pincer ram module, retractable mechanical claws and armor-piercing rams mountable to the vehicle front, delivering devastating crushing and collision force. Vehicle requirement, Grade D vehicle. 3. Relic energy turbine core. Installed directly into vehicle engines to replace or supplement the primary power system, granting explosive temporary power surges. Vehicle requirement, Grade D vehicle. Bonus drop rewards. Medium repair spray times 3 instantly restores 30 vehicle structural integrity alloy rock shards times 100 staring at the dazzling array of high-tier loot. Fong Jing's eyes lit up. She wrapped both arms around Lin Che's arm and shook it excitedly. "This is amazing. So many rare high-grade parts. Brother Lin Che, can we give our ride a massive overhaul now?" The young girl buzzed with excitement, like a treasure hunter stepping into a gold vault. But Lin Che's brows drew tight, his mood sour. "We can't use any of it." Lin Che sighed, gesturing to the red warning text on his system panel. We killed the crab far above our level. All these modules are exclusively for Grade D vehicles. My scavenger bike only has 70 predation energy. It's nowhere near enough to evolve to Grade D. He glanced back at his motorcycle, crumpled and bent out of shape from the crab's massive pincer strike. He had repair spray to fix its frame, but the tier gap was uncrossable. All this powerful gear was useless to him for the time being. This deadly, hard-won victory had done nothing to boost his immediate combat strength. But Fang Jing was sharp-witted. Following his gaze, she instantly understood his worry. She bit her lower lip, glancing at her own beat-up food truck, then lifted her head to stare at Lin Che with bright, determined eyes. Brother, what if you absorb my Fan Yuan? With my truck's energy added in, your predation energy will hit 100 for sure, maybe even jump straight to Grade D evolution. Lin Che froze, staring in shock at the delicate girl beside him. On this godforsaken highway, a vehicle was a player's lifeline, a mobile safe haven. He never imagined she'd willingly sacrifice her sole means of survival for his sake. If you let me absorb your truck, you'll have nothing left to rely on, Lin Che said quietly, a warm swell of emotion rising in his chest. Who said I have nothing? Fang Jing's cheeks flushed pink, her head ducking shyly as her small hands twisted tight in the hem of his jacket. I've got you, don't I? Lin Che hesitated for a split second, then ruffled the top of her hair gently. All right, that's settled. I'll look out for you from now on. Hee, you've always been taking care of me anyway. After agreeing, Lin Che walked over to Fang Jing's food truck. Activate predation absorption. Normally, a vehicle could not be absorbed if its owner was alive and the vehicle hadn't been fully destroyed. Fang Jing's truck was heavily damaged but still intact. Yet the truck dissolved into streams of dark crimson data light regardless. A sudden system notification popped up. Ding. Detected target vehicle owner in party state. Voluntary vehicle sacrifice confirmed. Hidden mechanism triggered. Special fusion evolution. Current predation energy, 70. Fusion target. Special life support vehicle. Energy threshold met. Commencing Grade D tier evolution. Boom. In an instant, Lin Che's motorcycle and Fang Jing's food truck were both enveloped within a colossal glowing cocoon. The roar of clashing metal and interlocking gears echoed violently inside the luminous shell. A dozen seconds later, the radiant light shattered apart with a thunderous crash. A dark gray, all-terrain steel behemoth rolled into view, imposing and domineering before the two people. Raider RV, Tier D combat vehicle description, a mutated fusion of a combat locomotive and a living quarters dining car. It boasts exceptional off-road mobility alongside top-tier living support capabilities. Lin Che and Fang Jing stared in stunned silence. The RV boasted a rugged, wild frame with an extremely high chassis fitted with puncture-proof, all-terrain off-road tires. Though its thick armor cut down interior space, it came fully equipped with a kitchenette, small sofa, washroom with bathing stall, and a large plush bed. Fang Jing cheered, threw open the door and darted inside, rolling happily back and forth on the soft big bed. After 2 rolls, she suddenly sat up and blinked. Huh? Why is there only one bed? Lin Che leaned against the doorframe and shot her a disdainful glance. Space is this tight, and it still has to fit a kitchen and bathroom. You expect 2 beds? Count yourself lucky there's a spring mattress at all. Fang Jing twisted her fingers bashfully, her face flaming red all the way down to her neck. Then where are we supposed to sleep tonight? You're welcome to sleep on the engine cover at the front. I won't stop you. I'd never do that. Pouting, Fang Jing grabbed a pillow and hurled it at him. Sharing one bed is fine. We slept together last night anyway. The girl showed no trace of embarrassment. Lin Che tossed the pillow back and scanned the carriage interior again. It felt far safer here. But the best upgrades were yet to come. Time to upgrade. Now that the vehicle had reached Tier D, all those enhancement modules could finally be put to use. System, commence refitting and upgrading. Command received. Initiating heavy vibration alloy carapace upgrade. Requirements. Heavy vibration alloy carapace blueprint owned requirements. Alloy rock, plating times 100 owned requirements. Any energy core for power supply owned. Relic turbine energy core, times 1 refitting and upgrading in progress. The blueprint dissolved into golden light. 100 pieces of rock plating shimmied as if alive, flowing to cover the RV's original armor in a seamless layer. The vehicle's original dark gray body deepened to a dark iron black, its surface textured with rough rock grain. Finally, the turbine core glowing faint blue was embedded straight into the vehicle's engine assembly. Refitting and upgrade complete. Your vehicle has obtained heavy vibration alloy armor. Detect installable module, giant clamping front pincer module. Continue installation? Continue. Equipping giant clamping front pincer module. A roar of mechanical assembly rumbled from the wide front bumper of the RV. A thick hydraulic mechanical pincer materialized out of thin air. Even better, the giant claws folded inward during non-combat mode, forming an ultra-thick armor-piercing ram. When activated, the mechanical pincers snapped fully open. Powered by its hydraulic system, they delivered crushing bite force. Lin Che focused his mind, and a boulder beside the road shattered instantly between the claws. This was a massive leap forward in firepower and defense. Armored RV, giant hydraulic crab pincers, plus the roof-mounted M249 machine gun. He was wrapped in total safety. With the turbine core installed, the vehicle's power output skyrocketed. The turbine core also unlocked an active skill, Crab Charge. For 30 seconds, maximum speed increases by 40, 5-minute cooldown. Eager to test it out, Lin Che started the vehicle immediately. A deep dragon-like engine roar boomed through the canyon, and pale blue exhaust flames spurted from the twin tailpipes. Yet more surprises awaited them. The cabin lights flickered, and the system popped up another thrilling notification. Triggered Vehicle Evolution Reward. Permanent trait upgrades unlocked below. Option 1. Dual energy drive merges the dining car's solar array with the relic turbine core. Beyond fuel combustion power, the vehicle gains a high-energy electric drive mode. Solar energy slowly replenishes power under sunlight. Switch to silent full electric mode for low-speed travel or stealth, conserving fuel while moving completely undetected. Option 2. Automated logistics support. An automatic food processing unit spawns in the kitchen area. Simply input raw base ingredients, and the system carries out assembly line automatic processing to mass-produce meals. Option 3. Spatial expansion technology evolved from mini spatial cubes, granting the vehicle spatial expansion functionality. Additional interior space added while the vehicle's exterior dimensions remain unchanged, with room for further upgrades. Current extra space gained, 10 square meters. Fong Jing's eyes lit up with excitement. Lin Che, which one should we pick? Staring at the 3 special evolution reward branches, Fong Jing's eyes went wide with wonder. Lin Che, pick the second one, the food processing module. Even if I'm not around later, you'll never go hungry. Lin Che rolled his eyes and tapped her lightly on the head. Silly girl, read the description carefully. It's only a processing unit. It can't conjure unlimited food out of nowhere. You still need to feed it raw ingredients. Besides, with you here, this module would be totally redundant. Fong Jing held her forehead and pouted. Ugh, I just wanted to slack off a little. Fine. I love cooking for you anyway. Let's pick the first power supplement module, okay? Dual fuel electric drive saves so much fuel. A fuel-electric hybrid system sounded tempting, but Lin Che shook his head again. The electric drive was appealing, yet the RV still held ample fuel reserves right now. Pure electric power was not a pressing necessity. Worse still, this world had no charging stations. Solar charging generated far too little energy to rely on. If monsters chased them down, the paltry electric supply would be useless. After a brief moment of thought, Lin Che fixed his gaze on the third option and issued a firm command. Select the spatial expansion module. Clack, 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 hum. A strange warping sound echoed, and blinding blue light flooded the entire RV cabin. A miracle unfolded before their eyes. The cramped cabin, barely big enough for a bed and counter with no room to turn around, stretched outward rapidly. When the blue glow faded, Fong Jing gasped in shock. From the outside, the vehicle still looked like an ordinary small dark gray van. Step inside, however, and it felt like crossing a dimensional barrier. The interior had expanded to a spacious 20-plus square meters. There was a separate bedroom, a wet-dry split bathroom, a fully stocked kitchen, and even a small lounge area with a sofa near the door. Wow! Fong Jing covered her mouth in awe, her big eyes wide with shock. This isn't just an RV, it's a fully furnished tiny apartment. 20 square meters was nothing special back in the old world, but inside a mobile combat vehicle, it was an extravagant luxury. And that's not all. The spatial module is only level 1 for now. With enough materials and energy later, we can upgrade it further. Forget a tiny apartment, I could build you a 3-bedroom, 2 living room space easily. Lin Che scanned the space contentedly and patted the cabin wall. Really? Then I want a huge bathtub, a big TV, game consoles. Fong Jing threw herself onto the spring mattress, rolling back and forth happily, her long pale legs kicking in the air. Lin Che walked over, grabbed her by the collar like lifting a chick, and set her down in the passenger seat before buckling her safety belt. We can sleep later. We need to hit the road fast. Lin Che slid into the driver's seat and studied the dashboard data, his brows furrowing slightly. The first service station was still 300 kilometers away, with less than 20 hours left on the countdown timer. The vehicle's upgraded armor added significant weight. Though the relic turbine core pushed its top speed to 150 miles per hour, its standard cruising speed hovered around 70. Worst of all, after all the refitting, their remaining fuel combined only held enough for a 200-kilometer range. That meant no detours or delays on the rest of the journey, and they had to source enough fuel to cover an extra 100 kilometers somehow. Fortunately, online trading had been unlocked. The pair had earned a massive haul of gold coins from the giant rock crab hunt, 1,500 coins total. If push came to shove, they could bite the bullet and buy fuel at a steep markup for emergencies. I'll drive, head to the online trade market and buy some extra fuel, and haggle for a lower price. Lin Che pressed down on the gas. The RV rumbled with a low roar and glided smoothly onto the highway. Leave it to me, boss. I'm a pro at bargaining while shopping. Fang Jing excitedly pulled up the system panel. Dust swirled across the highway, the engine's growl mixed with her non-stop chatter from the passenger seat. Brother Lin Che, I got it. 3 units of mid-grade fuel. I haggled them down to 500 gold coins. Aren't I amazing? Brother Lin Che, someone's selling a GPS navigator on the world chat for a whopping 1,000 coins. Lucky we looted a regional digital map off that unlucky guy earlier. Saved us a fortune. All right, our food stock's completely empty. We need to stock up on meat and veggies soon. Otherwise you'll be stuck eating rock-hard compressed biscuits every day. I'm afraid you won't stand it. Lin Che's ears were ringing from her constant rambling. This girl was practically binge shopping. He glanced at the online marketplace himself, but aside from basic supplies and low-tier weapons, there was nothing particularly valuable. It seemed rare goods would only be available at the service station. All right, that's enough chatter. Lin Che's head ached from her constant talking, and he rubbed his temples helplessly. I get girls love shopping, but this isn't the time for browsing. Keep an eye on the map instead. Okay, fine. Fang Jing obediently closed the trading interface and stared out the windshield, then suddenly froze. Brother, there are people up ahead. Lin Che assumed she was checking the digital map. What's going on? Did the regional map update to mark other players' coordinates accurately? It's not the map. I can see them with my own eyes, right beside the highway. Fang Jing pointed forward. Look at all the dust. 2 groups are fighting. Lin Che lifted his gaze to look. Roughly 500 meters ahead on the wasteland beside the highway, several vehicles sat haphazardly amid swirling sand. Lin Che squinted to make out the scene. 3 vehicles formed the outer group, a pickup truck with metal spikes welded to its front, a beat-up black sedan, and a motorcycle with 2 spare fuel tanks strapped to its frame. It looked like a small raider convoy. The 3 vehicles had surrounded a tiny van. The convoy's leader was a burly brute named Wang Tao, flanked by 2 lackeys. Ma Zhe, wielding a rusted chain as thick as a wrist, and Zhang Yang, clutching a steel pipe. Both grinned maliciously. Once petty thugs in their old world, they had continued their lawless ways in this apocalyptic realm. The van they'd cornered was totaled, its front caved in, thick black smoke billowing from the hood, immobilized on the sand. A young man and woman climbed out. The man, Zhu Lei, was thin and frail. Behind him trembled Yuan. Dust coated her body, yet her pretty face and curvy figure were still striking. Don't touch her. Empty-handed, Zhu Lei stood rigidly in front of Yuan, his eyes blazing with despair and rage, like a young wolf defending its prey against predators. Don't touch her? Ha ha. Wang Tao cackled loudly, kicking the frail Zhu Lei flat on his back. He planted a heavy boot on Zhu Lei's chest, staring down at him with mocking contempt. Kid, vehicles mean everything in this world. You don't even have a car anymore. What are you worth? He turned to Yuan, cowering behind the van door, and licked his lips greedily. Hand the girl over to us to entertain the boys, and I'm in a good mood today, so I might spare your worthless life. You can even tag along with our convoy and scrape by on Scraps, our little dog. Over my dead body. Damn you. Zhu Lei roared and struggled to rise, but his slight frame was no match for Wang Tao's strength. Thud. Wang Tao's expression turned cold. He lifted his foot and slammed it hard into Zhu Lei's stomach. Zhu Lei curled in agony like a boiled shrimp, yet bit through his bleeding lip and threw himself forward, clinging tightly to Wang Tao's leg. Run. Flee into the desert. Zhu Lei screamed at the top of his lungs, his veins bulging on his neck. But the girl did not run. Where could she go? The endless empty desert would only lead to a slow death. Yuan stood rooted to the spot, watching Zhu Lei beaten and clinging uselessly to the raider's leg. Her terrified eyes sank into utter despair, then resignation. Zhu Lei watched as Yuan turned away from him, stepping slowly past his bloodied form to stand beside Wang Tao. When you? Zhu Lei lifted his head in disbelief, blood spilling from his mouth. Yuan stared down at her ruined boyfriend, her voice shaking nonstop. Lei Gu, face reality. You have nothing left now, your car's totaled. Staying with you on this highway means certain death. She took a deep breath and faced Wang Tao. Though her body trembled faintly, her tone was clear and resolute. I surrender. I'd rather go with them. Wen, how could you do this? Zhu Lei could not believe his long-term girlfriend would abandon him in their hour of need. They had dated long before being transported to this brutal world, shared hardships for years, and planned to marry. Now they'd been dragged into this hellscape, only to cross paths with these violent thugs, and the woman he loved chose to desert him for survival. Wang Tao wrapped an arm around the beautiful girl roughly, his coarse hands roaming over her body. Good girl, I'll treat you well, huh? The sight made Zhu Lei's blood boil with rage. Maybe he should accept his cruel fate in this merciless world, but he refused to give up. He strained to shout curses at Wang Tao. You bastards! I'll kill you all! Wang Tao roared with laughter, kicking the charging Zhu Lei back to the ground and grinding his boot into the young man's skull, spitting thick phlegm onto his face. Worthless trash. I'm gonna take your girl into the truck and have my fun. Let's see what you can do about it. He whistled at his two lackeys. Break this useless brat's arms and legs. Make him wish he were dead. Once I'm done, you two can take turns with the girl. As Yuan was dragged forcibly into the pickup truck, Zhu Lei's eyes blazed red. He grabbed a wooden stick from the sand and let out a scream of hopeless rage. I'll kill you. His feeble resistance only earned him a more brutal beating from Ma Zhe and Zhang Yang. Steel pipes and fists rained down, leaving Zhu Lei covered in wounds. Just as the two men were about to beat him to death, a low beast-like engine roar drew closer fast. Boom. A small armored RV hurtled into view. Crash. The vehicle pulled off a wild drift, its rigid vibration alloy armor slamming straight into Ma Zhe, who'd been wielding a steel pipe. The lackey tumbled dozens of meters across the sand. It was Lin Che. He'd originally planned to mind his own business and drive around the conflict after watching from a distance. But he could not stand by and watch their brutal cruelty. Besides, if he crossed paths with these scumbags later, they would only become a nuisance. It was better to eliminate them now. Seeing his partner sent flying, Zhang Yang panicked and shouted, Shit, boss, someone's messing with us. The pickup's door flew open with a kick. Wang Tao stumbled out with his trousers unbuttoned, his face twisted with fury, screaming profanities. What's all the yelling? You scare me half stiff. Damn it. What's the rush? You'll get your turn next. Then he spotted Ma Zhe, knocked flying by Lin Che's RV, and flew into a blind rage. What blind idiot hit my man? Second brother, are you alive? Surprisingly, the burly Ma Zhe brushed sand off his back and climbed to his feet as if unharmed. Cough. I'm fine, boss. Kill this punk and steal his ride. Whoa, he survived that crash? Lin Che was equally shocked. He grabbed a pistol, strapped it behind his back, and prepared to step out of the vehicle. Fong Jing grabbed his arm at once. Lin Che patted Fong Jing's small hand to soothe her. Don't worry. Just stay put in the vehicle. With that, he pushed open the door and hopped down. Wang Tao drew a half-meter-long machete, squinting as his gaze swept over Lin Che before landing on Fong Jing, her stunning curves and pretty face catching his eye. The second he laid eyes on the beautiful girl, his gaze glinted with wolfish greed. Whoa, nice ride, and an absolute stunner to go with it. Wang Tao licked his lips and pointed the blade at Lin Che. Kid, hand over the truck and the girl, and I'll put you out of your misery quick since I'm feeling generous. You damn trash, watch your mouth. Your breath reeks. Crawl back to the latrine to wash your filthy jaw before you speak to me. Lin Che shot back without a hint of hesitation, hurling insults right away. Damn it, you're begging to die. Wang Tao exchanged a glance with his two lackeys, malice etched across their faces as they closed in fast. Ma Zhe rubbed his sore chest, brandishing his steel pipe and snarling at Lin Che. You little punk, try to run me down. I'll bash your skull to pulp. Behind him, Zhang Yang wore a lecherous grin. Boy, this combat vehicle's a beauty. Hand it over to us bosses. Boss, that girl inside has an insane figure. Can I have first dibs on her later? Inside the RV, Fong Jing's face had turned ashen, yet she moved without hesitation. The young girl scrambled across to the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel tight, her eyes locked on the red weapon button to its left. She was ready to unleash full fire the second Lin Che gave the signal. Lin Che held his pistol behind his back, staring down the three scumbags. You three worthless mutts yapping when death's at your door. Spit out your last words fast. Maze thought he was just bluffing and roared, charging forward swinging his steel pipe. You little brat. Who do you think you're bluffing? Bang. A crisp gunshot cut his sentence short. A clean headshot. Maze's eyes stayed wide open as he crumpled to the ground. Lin Che spat on the sand. TCH, even the truck couldn't kill you earlier. Thought you were some invincible Superman. The cruel smirks froze instantly on Wang Tao and Zhang Yang's faces. They only carried melee weapons, but this kid actually had a gun. Clang. Terrified out of his wits, Wang Tao dropped his machete onto the sand. Brother. Let's talk this over calmly, please. His legs shook violently as he stumbled backward. I messed up. We didn't recognize how powerful you are. I'm sorry, truly sorry. What exactly did you do wrong? Lin Che's face turned cold, lowering the gun slightly before firing a bullet straight through Wang Tao's knee. Bang. Kneel. Thud. Thud. Wang Tao crumpled to the sand, clutching his wounded knee. Zhang Yang dropped to his knees without a second thought beside him. Brother, spare our lives. We'll hand the girl over to you. All our supplies too. Take anything you want. Just let us live. Lin Che cracked a faint smile. Funny thing, if I kill you too, the truck and the girl will still be mine anyway. The words made Fong Jing inside the RV huff in annoyance. Typical men, all rotten to the core. Hey, what nonsense are you spouting? Lin Che felt a cold chill run down his spine and twisted around with a sheepish grin. Just joking, just joking. I only want the vehicle, nothing else. While Lin Che was distracted, Wang Tao shot a sharp look at Zhang Yang beside him. Having stuck together for years, Zhang Yang caught the hint instantly. He scooped up a handful of gritty sand and hurled it straight at Lin Che's face. At the same time, he lunged forward like a ravenous wolf, clamping a tight grip around Lin Che's gun-wielding wrist. Lin Che squeezed his eyes shut to avoid the sand, and Zhang Yang seized his wrist in one fluid motion. Boss, strike now, Zhang Yang bellowed. He had pinned Lin Che's pistol arm. All Wang Tao needed to do was rush forward and slash the boy down. Then they'd have a gun, a powerful vehicle, and the girl, they could run wild without restraint. But the second Zhang Yang pounced, Wang Tao scrambled and crawled toward his pickup truck. He roughly kicked the disheveled, terrified Yuan out onto the sand. Roar. The pickup's engine roared madly. Wang Tao ignored his ally entirely, gritted his teeth against his knee pain, slammed on the gas, and tore off in a swirling cloud of dust. Zhang Yang, still clinging to Lin Che's wrist, froze completely in shock. Boss, you just left me? Your boss abandoned you. Lin Che let out a cold snarl and drove a vicious right fist straight into Zhang Yang's jaw. Crack. A sickening bone fracture echoed. Zhang Yang flew backward as if struck by a sledgehammer, crashing heavily onto the sand. Lin Che's physique had long surpassed the average human's peak strength. Knocking out this scrawny thug with one punch was child's play. The unlucky Zhang Yang clutched his bleeding jaw. The moment he lifted his head, he stared straight down the dark barrel of Lin Che's pistol. Gee, great brother, don't. Bang. 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 2 shots to the chest, 1 to the head. No god could save him now. After disposing of Zhang Yang, Lin Che glanced at Wang Tao's fleeing pickup and lifted a hand to signal Fong Jing. Inside the RV's cockpit, Fong Jing's eyes lit up with excitement. She hit the machine gun switch without hesitation. Clack, clack, clack. The heavy machine gun deployed, its black barrel locked onto the distant pickup. Fong Jing gritted her teeth, gripping the steering wheel firmly. Burn in hell, you scumbag. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat. BRRRRRRT. A brutal storm of metal tore through the air, streaking bullets lashing the pickup like burning whips. The seemingly sturdy truck crumpled like paper under the gunfire. Its cargo hold was riddled with holes, and the fuel tank ruptured, bursting into flames instantly. Boom, crash. A massive fireball bloomed above the highway. Wang Tao and his pickup were reduced to a pile of smoldering scrap metal, not even a scream escaping his lips. The fight was over. Lin Che paid no mind to the stunned, frozen Zhu and Yuan standing nearby. He walked straight to the wreckage of the 3 beat-up vehicles and activated the Predator system. Streaks of dark red data flooded outward, swallowing all 3 vehicles whole. Absorption complete. Predator RV Tier D. Predation Energy plus 30. Loot Settlement. Obtained. Disposable Vehicle Repair Kit times 2. Obtained. Primary Fuel times 5 units. Obtained. Drinking Water Crates times 2. Obtained. Canned Rations times 10. Obtained. Gold Coins times 900. Triggered Vehicle Absorption Draw. Obtained. Standard Spare Tire Common times 1. Obtained. Torn Leather Seat Common times 1. Lin Che wrinkled his nose in disgust and skipped the draw entirely. Those thugs had looked intimidating, yet they owned nothing but worthless junk. He had no use for any of it. With the threat gone, Fong Jing carefully pushed open the RV door and stepped down. Lin Che, how was I? Did I hold the machine gun fire steady back there? Perfect aim, steady as a seasoned Special Forces soldier. Naturally, I used to rank really high in shooting games. I've still got that instinct. The two chatted casually while Zhu Lei, covered head to toe in blood, finally recovered from the shock. He limped over to Lin Che. Thanks, brother. Zhu Lei, will never forget this life-saving favor. Lin Che glanced at his severe injuries and the totaled van beside him. He pulled one newly looted vehicle repair kit from his storage space and tossed it into Zhu Lei's arms. No need to thank me. You didn't back down when they beat you. You've got some backbone. Move on. On this highway, you have to carve out your own path to survival. Zhu Lei clutched the repair kit tightly and nodded hard. Gritting his teeth, he hobbled to his van, used the kit, and barely got the engine running. At that moment, the disheveled Yuan scrambled over and threw her arms around Zhu Lei's leg, sobbing uncontrollably. Let go. Take me with you. I'm sorry. I only pretended to submit to them to save us both. Please forgive me. Zhu Lei halted, staring down at the woman he'd fought tooth and nail to protect. His eyes swirled with tangled emotion, agony, reluctant fondness, all fading into cold, lifeless apathy. He roughly shook her off. His voice was ice cold. Get away from me. Without another glance at her, Zhu Lei bowed deeply toward Lin Che, climbed into his beat-up van, and drove alone toward the desert horizon. Yuan collapsed onto the sand in despair, watching him leave. Seconds later, she scrambled on her knees toward Lin Che and Fong Jing, clinging to them as if they were her last lifeline. Brother, sister, take me with you. I'll do anything you ask. Have mercy, please. I'll die if you leave me out here alone. Lin Che stepped back 3 paces as if fleeing a plague, terrified she'd latch onto his legs. He grabbed the still dazed Fong Jing, strode back into the RV, slammed the door shut, and hit the gas. The vehicle sped away, leaving Yuan choking on a thick trail of exhaust fumes. Phew, don't think me cruel, but we don't have room for anyone else in this small vehicle. Fong Jing said nothing, sitting stiffly in the passenger seat with a grim expression. Lin Che glanced at her out of the corner of his eye while steering. What? Your heart softening? Playing the saint and wanting to help that woman? Fong Jing jolted, shaking her head vigorously. Huh? No way, not at all. I was just wondering, how come those 3 thugs didn't have a single fresh vegetable or cut of meat on their trucks? Nothing but crummy canned food. Who's to blame for that? You blew up the heavy pickup that held most of their supplies. Any decent food would have burned to ash instantly. Lin Che huffed. This isn't my fault. Fong Jing shot back indignantly. It's your fault. If you'd shot all of them dead with headshots sooner, we could have saved that truck. Lin Che smiled softly at her retort and dropped their petty bickering, speaking quietly. Did killing people just now scare you? He knew the girl had never seen death before. Her earlier days had been pure fright, yet she'd pretended to be upset only about lost supplies. Fong Jing froze, staring at her trembling hands, then nodded silently. But she quickly lifted her head to meet his gaze. I'm not scared anymore, though. First time's awkward, second's easy. The girl had a resilient mindset. Lin Che smiled and ruffled her hair, glancing accidentally at the rearview mirror outside the window. Far down the highway, the beat-up van that had driven away had turned around, stopping beside Yuan. The bloodied man hesitated for a long time, then pushed open his van door and pulled the woman who'd betrayed him back inside. Lin Che looked away, staring out at the endless wilderness stretching ahead, and muttered under his breath. TCH, utterly spineless. Lin Che, it's dark out. Let me take over driving so you can rest a while. Night had fallen thick, the RV's headlights the only light cutting through the endless highway darkness. Fong Jing stepped out from the lounge area at the back of the cabin, rubbing her sleepy eyes and yawning widely. The run-in with Zhu Lei's group earlier had eaten up a lot of time. To avoid a large, menacing convoy spotted on the map, Lin Che had taken a lengthy detour. Night had fallen, and they still hadn't reached the number 74 service station. Lin Che steered with one hand, checking his system panel and digital map. Distance to number 74 service station. 50 kilometers countdown to arrival. 11 hours 21 minutes, they were nearly there. No need, we've got plenty of time. The remaining stretch takes at most an hour. Let's stop somewhere to rest first. Lin Che pressed the brake and slowed the RV. Now that they were close to the station, he saw no rush to press onward. As the only safe zone and trading hub in the region, no? 74 service station would be swarming with all kinds of survivors and troublemakers right now. Both of them were worn out. Resting up first was the smart move. While the RV's firepower had improved drastically, Lin Che still felt uneasy. At the end of the day, he only carried one machine gun and a single pistol, with very limited ammunition. If they got dragged into a firefight with a well-equipped group, they wouldn't last 5 minutes. Ideally, they could hunt a few monsters or stumble across high-tier treasure chests to stock up on supplies. But first and foremost, they needed rest and a proper meal. Fong Jing leaned against the passenger window, pointing toward a dark stretch off the highway. Lin Che, look over there. That thick patch of trees is well hidden. Let's park inside to rest. It'll be safer. Sounds good. Lin Che turned the wheel right, leaving the main road and rolling over wild grass to the tree-line. A sunken hollow sheltered by dense trees made the perfect hidden rest spot. The map marked this as unexplored territory. After resting, they could scan the area with their regional digital map and might even find a treasure chest. But the second the RV pulled up to the tree line, its headlights sweeping across the treetops, Lin Che and Fong Jing froze in shock. Two pale naked figures darted frantically beneath the headlights. A man and a woman stumbled out from behind a bush, fumbling to pull their clothes up. They scrambled into a sedan parked behind the trees, didn't dare turn on its lights, and peeled away with a roaring engine. Whoa! Lin Che raised an eyebrow. Huh? What were they doing back there? Fong Jing blinked her wide, innocent eyes, feigning ignorance. A smirk tugged at Lin Che's lips. How should I know? Probably studying the origins of life or something. Fong Jing's face flushed bright red, shooting him an annoyed glare. Outdoor intimacy is just what it is. Don't dress it up with fancy words like I'm some fool. Then why ask? I was just curious, heh. Fong Jing stuck her tongue out awkwardly. If that pair had chosen this spot, it meant it was thoroughly concealed. Lin Che relaxed, cutting the engine and headlights, releasing the steering wheel. Works for me. This place is perfect. They got scared off, so we've got the spot all to ourselves. He never finished his sentence. Fong Jing's cheeks burned all the way to her ears, and she stumbled backward, waving her hands like a spooked rabbit. Wait, no way. I can't do that. It's pitch black outside, full of bugs. I'm not going out there. Lin Che stared at her with a dark, confused expression. What ridiculous nonsense are you imagining? I meant this spot's quiet and hidden. We'll park the vehicle here out of sight and rest inside. Oh, I see. That's what you meant. Fong Jing was so embarrassed she wanted to vanish into thin air, stammering to cover her mistake. I didn't think anything weird. That's exactly what I meant too. Rest up first. Brother, I'll head to the kitchen to cook. With that, she scrambled back to the kitchen at the rear of the cabin, as if fleeing for her life. Lin Che shook his head helplessly, reclining his seat to lie back and unwind. He watched the fleeing couple's sedan through the windshield, ready to close his eyes and rest. Some people sure have odd timing for romance. But the sedan had barely traveled 100 meters when two pale, ghostly figures burst out of the deep woods without warning. They moved with supernatural speed, charging straight for the sedan, their hideous true forms illuminated by the moonlight. Lin Che's eyes widened in alarm. They were two mutated beasts as large as adult buffaloes, wolf-shaped, with grotesque elongated snouts and jagged fangs. Their bodies were hairless, pale skin stretched tight over bone, a row of sharp silver-gray spines jutting backward along their spines. They had lanky limbs, and two jagged bone spikes split from the tip of their long tails. Lin Che's drowsiness vanished instantly, cold sweat breaking out across his skin. His right hand shot to the dashboard machine gun control switch. Before he could pull the trigger, the scene unfolding before him made his pupils shrink to pinpricks. The two monsters were clearly hunting the couple's sedan. The car moved slowly over the wasteland, and the beasts leaped onto its roof in an instant. A horrific screech of tearing metal echoed. The sedan's seemingly sturdy steel doors ripped open like tin cans beneath the monster's claws. Help us! Terrified, blood-curdling screams from the man and woman inside cut through the night. The cries died out after barely 3 seconds. The monsters dragged the pair roughly out of the car, their sharp fangs slicing open the victims' chests with ease. Gagging sounds of chewing and cracking bones echoed through the silent forest. After just a few bites, the beasts devoured the fresh innards, tossing the mangled human remains aside like trash. Fong Jing, hearing the commotion outside, poked her head out of the rear kitchen holding a spatula. She caught sight of the brutal, gory scene through the windshield. Her face drained of all color, her mind going blank as she instinctively prepared to scream. Lin Che reacted in a flash. He grabbed her collar, yanking her down onto the passenger seat, then pressed her head firmly against his thigh, muffling her. Not a sound. Lin Che hissed quietly. Fong Jing trembled violently, clamping her lips shut hard to stifle any noise, barely daring to breathe. Lin Shay gritted his teeth, his palms slick with sweat as he gripped the machine gun's controls. He held fire, refusing to shoot recklessly. The monsters hadn't spotted the hidden RV yet, and Lin Shay could immediately tell how terrifyingly agile they were. Their explosive pounce far outmatched the slow-moving giant rock crabs they'd fought before. If a full magazine of bullets failed to kill them instantly, once they closed the distance, the RV's armor might not hold against their razor-sharp claws. There was no telling if only 2 monsters lurked within the woods. Knowing they remained undiscovered for the moment, Lin Shay took a deep breath, quickly pulled up the regional digital map, and spent gold coins to unlock the monster compendium for this zone. Knowledge was power. Ding. 100 gold coins consumed. Compendium unlocked. Target: Gray-spined bonewolf LV.12 Elite Predator Description. A mutated wolf variant infected by a viral pathogen. Traits: High-speed hunter. Extremely bloodthirsty. Active only at night. Travels in small packs. Attributes: pale gray, highly hardened skin. Thick muscular forearms tipped with bone blades. Long spiked tails delivered devastating strikes, capable of shattering rock and ordinary steel. Weakness analysis: their thickened skin deflects standard caliber bullets. However, their abdomens lack bony plating and remain soft and vulnerable. Level 12 mutated beasts. Lin Shay silently thanked himself for holding back his impulsive shot earlier. Even the RV's M249 machine gun might struggle to pierce their hardened hides. As long as they stayed hidden, laying low was the only safe choice. He shut off every interior light, dimming the dashboard backlight to its lowest setting. Fong Jing lay curled over Lin Shay's thighs, her teeth chattering, shaking like a leaf. Luckily, they were far enough away. The monsters hunted primarily by scent and had not detected the RV. Just as Lin Shay thought staying quiet would let them slip by undetected, a faint, mouth-watering aroma drifted silently through the RV's air vents and into the woods. The bone wolves, about to leave, whipped their heads around, locking their gazes on the RV's hiding spot. We're done for. Shit, my soup. Fong Jing caught the scent wafting from the cabin, her face turning ashen. Are you really worrying about your stupid soup at a time like this? Lin Shay pushed Fong Jing off his lap, his gaze turning ice cold. He fired up the RV, all headlights blazing to life, blinding the 2 bone wolves. Get ready to fight.